What's up? What's up, folks? So excited to see how many of you were waiting while we were getting our shit together. So pleasant to see. We are live covering now the pregame of the Penguins Islanders matchup. The series is tied 2-2. This is game 5. Let us know who you think is taking this game. Obviously, I've got Jenna with me tonight and not Megan, so a fresh face. Megan is at the Mets game, as she told many of you all week. She was excited to see. I don't know if the weather is what it's like in DC as it is New York, but there might not be any baseball. It is pouring out.
Oh.
Yeah, smash that like button. Get ahead of me before I can even ask.
Amazing.
Great work, people. I was saying on Twitter today that if the Penguins-Islanders series goes to 7 games, the Bruins will have at least 6 days off, which I think is a risk, but a lot of people think that is a large benefit.
I would say, especially if they've been facing any injury, I don't know exactly with their roster, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but they've just been so streaky with consistency.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh.
So many comments. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I was trying to get some things together. Vincent, Aiden, Statman, John Larson, Chloe, Underwater, Puck Barrel, Luza loves the Capitals. I'm so sorry. Underwater. Aaron Brazier, Callie, thanks for joining us. Andrew H., all of the OGs. Shaggy Von Doom, haven't seen you in a while. Thanks, guys, for joining us. We had a really great day yesterday. We broke our views record over 3,000, and we broke our subscriber record and actually hit 530 today. So that is super exciting. We are on the road to 1K. Help us get there. If you're new with us, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button so that other people can join us throughout the evening tonight for this, what should be an exciting game, should be an interesting goaltending matchup as usual, and an interesting offensive matchup. I just saw in the pregame show that Crosby has been held without a point for the last 3 games, which is interesting for the Penguins since they've still had such high offensive production. Today's games. See, now I got to do everything that Megan usually does. We don't give enough credit, people.
Now I have responsibilities, and I don't know if I like it.
Yeah, ask Jenna as many questions as you'd like now. We've got the Panthers and the Islanders. No, Panthers and Lightning kicking off at 8 p.m. Eastern time as well. That is also a potential elimination game as Tampa leads 3-1 in that series. It should be exciting. Obviously, I'm rooting for Florida, but a lot of people are telling me that they are down and out. So
my bracket needs them to not be.
Yours
more than mine, though.
We will see. I mean, the other one that's a big surprise that's on at 9:45, which will be the first back-to-back in the playoffs, is the Oilers and the Jets. That'll be interesting, to say the least, with the Jets coming out of literally nowhere. And then we've got Jenna's Vegas Golden Knights. Well, Jenna's Wild taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Sorry. I'm typing.
Excuse me, I'm wearing State of Hockey shirt.
There we go.
There's also a Pure Hockey shirt. Gotta be on brand.
Yeah, Vegas leads 3-1 in that series after what was a sad loss.
Oh my goodness. We have a Wild question for me. Yes. What do you think the biggest thing the Wild need to add in the offseason? I'm thinking defense. I think that their current defensive core surrounds Suter and Matt Dumba. Spurgeon's been good, but he's made some mistakes too. And I think they need at least some solid players back there because they just have their mistakes have been leading to goals just over and over and over again. And it's hard to watch. Some other questions. Shannon, what's today's fun fact about Hamilton the Pig? Did you prepare?
You know what? I have been talking about Hamilton the Pig literally all day, and my boyfriend is so sick of it.
Are you just telling anyone you know, people on the street?
I didn't go outside except for to go to a workout class today, so I can't say I've chatted too much about him. There's not a ton of chatter that goes on at F45.
Fair.
But I did turn on, unless Megan turned it off, he has not posted yet today because I did turn on notifications for his posts. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a little quiet after that double overtime loss yesterday. We did cover Carolina-Nashville game. It went on for what felt like a century.
That was bad. I was going to casually be on the stream, and then I was there forever. I don't know if she froze. Well, you're stuck with me. I'm seeing some things in the chat. Greenway was a pest when we played them this season. Shay, who are you a fan of? But also, yes, I think Greenway has improved on using his body and his physicality. Sometimes he's a little bit sloppy with it, but overall he's been getting better. How did Minnesota send 3 teams to the Frozen Four and still not win? It's because they're Minnesota, obviously. That's a pretty easy one. I don't think you need to even ask that question. I was really sad because I was just rooting for the state of Minnesota itself. But, oh, it's just me. I can't click anything. This is great, guys. Keep your questions coming. I'm sure Shannon will be back any moment. But
Oh, that sucks. I lose the comments when they lose me.
Oh.
Sorry, everyone. Usually Meg has all the comments going when my Wi-Fi shits the bed, but have no fear. We're going to work with my Wi-Fi today.
Yes. I don't know how to, I don't have the access for that stuff yet.
Yeah, we didn't think of it. This is our first time going, just me and Jenna, so we didn't think to get Jenna back-end access until 10 minutes before the stream, and that takes a little more than 10 minutes to figure out. So some other time this week, we will figure it out.
Okay.
I'm going for the Wilds. As Fanboy, you got the sweep, though. How are you feeling after your sweep?
Did anyone see the post by, I think it was Grubauer, the Abs goalie, calling out Binnington on Instagram today? I thought that was hilarious. Shan, did you not see that?
I did not. No, I have not been on Instagram today, actually, so I didn't see it.
It was all over my Twitter, actually. I was seeing a bunch of things about it.
Interesting. So the hate for Jordan Binnington extends beyond fans. It's within the league as well?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because
I know you said you were neutral about Binnington.
I did.
How is that possible?
So I have literally not a single emotion toward Binnington beyond the fact that he stole the Stanley Cup from me in 2019. Not a single qualm.
No, if you did like a name search or Googled him, it would take you about 0.5 seconds to figure out why you shouldn't like the guy. But
that's exciting. Ilya Sorokin's starting tonight.
What'd you say?
Ilya Sorokin's starting tonight over Varlamov.
Ooh.
But yeah, I have no qualms against Binnington, which is why in my head it was comparable to everyone's hate toward Tuukka Rask. Like fans just had an irrational hatred toward a goaltender, but I guess it is like a league-wide hatred for Binnington. So I would love if you have like any sort of emotion toward him, please sound off in the comments so that I can get a better understanding of where the hate comes from. I know he had a lot to say. There was a game where he picked a fight. I don't watch a ton of Blues games, I won't lie to you. So I don't see it a ton. We did just have puck drop, though. Like I said, the goaltending matchup is Tristan Jarry versus Ilya Sorokin. Obviously, in the first matchup, Sorokin did take this win, and it was his first start of his career in the playoffs. So this will be his second official start. Tristan Jarry has been starting consistently in net for the Penguins, and we will see who's able to take this one. Obviously, the series is tied at 2-2 right now, so whoever takes this is able to take the lead in the series. This will be your last chance to get game score guesses in. Who's going to take first goal? Who's going to take the lead in the series? Sound off.
Most important thing in the chat, Hamilton the Pig posted on Instagram today, and he's eating pizza.
Thank God. That is the statistic I need, John.
Statistic. Right.
Statman John coming in with the true stats.
Oh my goodness.
That's great.
That's interesting take underwater putting that it's a must win for the Pens tonight. If it's a 2-2 series,
I think that's an interesting but not too far off take because the Penguins historically do not play well against Barry Trotz in the playoffs. They did not when they played against the Capitals. They did not when Barry Trotz took over for the Islanders. So now if the Penguins do go down in this series, later in the series, it's going to be much harder for them to even the score. Especially when they're going back to New York, I believe, for Game 6.
yeah, that would be the pattern there. I don't know. I guess I've never really thought about how a team could be bad against a coach, but I guess if they coach in a certain way and they run things a certain way, it could be like that. I don't know. I've just always assumed like, oh, like this team is really bad against this lineup or this player, this player's a Bruins killer, things like that. But I've never heard it with a coach.
Yeah, no, I mean, it depends on the situation. Like, there are some coaches that are just historically difficult to coach against. Barry Trotz being one of them. Joe Quenneville is another one. Bruce Cassidy has become one in the last 5 years. But they're sort of going away in the more recent years when the old style of play, which is how coaches thrived, are now kind of going out the window. So, I don't know. It's been interesting. And I think, again, underwater is not that far off that whichever team does end up losing this is going to be really, really far behind because once you go down 3-2 and you've only got 2 games to then even the score and win, those are two, obviously you lose, you're out.
Yeah, I guess if you're a strong believer in home ice advantage, then the Islanders going next game home. If they win this one, then it's maybe over, and if they don't, then they have a chance to come back, I guess. So
it's hard to be a strong believer in home ice advantage this playoff season, though, when you see games like Florida and Tampa, when the teams are winning opposite ice games.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it is just luck, right? And a part of it, when you consider COVID-19, a lot of these arenas don't have fans in them. So home ice advantage only matters if a team is comfortable on their bench or in their locker room, which, again, I mean, has some impact, but not the fans, which is the primary impact.
Yeah. Well, I would say 2 thoughts with that. One, the Wild were only good at home until they had fans, and then they stopped being good at home. So I don't know what that means. It was like reverse home ice. But I think one important component in home ice advantage, and whether you have it or not, is actually the sheet of ice. Like, I think people who haven't played might not necessarily value that as much, but I honestly think, like, I play at Walter Brown Arena at BU, and I know where it's going to be wet after the Zamboni goes, and I know where there's deep cuts in the ice, and that kind of stuff might not seem like a lot, but if you're skating at the level of an NHL player, I feel like that could make a difference. It's a big
Well, I think that's actually a really great point because one thing I've been seeing a lot with regard to TD Garden's ice is that because they share TD Garden with the Celtics, and the Celtics are also in a playoff series against the Brooklyn Nets. They're only going on Game 2. I believe I was just told they don't play until tomorrow, which is kind of odd since they haven't played since Saturday. But anywho, they share the floor with the Celtics, so they've got to take the parquet up and down. That ice maintenance is completely different from a team that only has the arena to themselves. So the ice health, for lack of a better term, quality is completely different from a team that has the ice to themselves, doesn't have a team in the playoffs right now, doesn't have a basketball team to share it with, doesn't have any other events to share it with. I know some, again, going back to the COVID-19 protocols, some cities are having events indoors, which would be in arenas.
Yeah. I think the NHL does have an advantage. Like, I think home ice advantage is a really big thing in college hockey because there's like a recommended dimensions for college rinks, but you don't have to follow it. Like, you think of Minnesota, they have an Olympic.
Like the MLB, yeah.
And then I did some research into this once. Like, Harvard's rink is just 1 foot off in each direction. Like, there's just weird things like that in college that just can't be regulated because some of them are really old, some of them are new.
Well, it's again the same thing with baseball stadiums. Like Fenway Park has obviously the green monster that you've got to hit a home run over, which makes it incredibly difficult to play there. But the depth of the outfield can't be regulated in a lot of really old stadiums for baseball, which makes it difficult to hit a home run, which obviously makes it difficult to score.
Yeah, which I think is crazy that that's just in a pro league that they're just like, yeah, it's different at each one.
Yeah, a couple Jack Whitney, I believe you're new with us. Welcome. Obviously, it is sad for the teams that did not make the playoffs. Yeah, Coyotes, I was rooting for them. Their jerseys are completely underrated. We are 14:40 into the first period. I don't know if Jenna's watching live or not. I'm watching live. That's usually a point of contention in our history.
I'm just like 20 seconds behind. So it's not as bad as it could be. Feel free to announce things when you see them. I will say I'm also looking in on the Toronto-Montreal game, and it looks like Montreal got a 4-minute power play. I'm not sure exactly what, because I'm watching without sound.
Great. No, Evan, I am not on a delay for the Penguins-Islanders game. However, at 8 o'clock, I will be turning on the yes, Ask Fanboy, tell Off the Wall Hockey we said hello. I will be turning on at 8 o'clock the Panthers-Lightning game on a second screen, which will be on a delay. Jenna is watching on a second screen the Maple Leafs Habs game. So we are trying to get you all the score updates we can, even though our primary game today is New York Islanders, Pittsburgh Penguins. Right now, with 6 minutes into the game, we've got 3 shots for Pittsburgh and only 1 shot for the Islanders. So it's been a little slow on the offensive end of this game here. I'm hoping that someone can pick it up because neither of these teams has proven to be a second period team in this series. So hoping we don't have a recreation of yesterday.
Oh my goodness. Little Boomer in the chat says, hi, Shannon, new Meg. Oh, yes. No.
Welcome to Meg's official replacement. No, I'm kidding. Meg is at the Mets game. Meg is at the Mets game. This is for you guys that are new. Our intern, Jenna, who's been with us for about a week and has been incredible. She is a Toronto Maple Leafs and Minnesota Wild fan. So both of those teams also playing tonight. If you guys have questions on those series, the Toronto Maple Leafs are 1-1 in their series, and the Minnesota Wild are on elimination watch, down 3-1 against the Vegas Golden Knights, playing at 10:30 Eastern tonight. So if you guys have questions on either this game or any of the other games going on tonight, make sure you sound off in the comments. Yes, underwater. The Mets do stink. Go Red Sox. As Fanboy, do donate to Off the Wall Hockey. We are members of Off the Wall Hockey's page. We are excited to officially be able to have members of our page and accept donations once we hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you have not yet, make sure that you do subscribe. If you're new with us, we had such a great day. We had 100 new subscribers yesterday, which was a record that we could not imagine. So make sure that you do hop in as we watch the Penguins try to take advantage of this long possession they have had in the Islanders' end. They are getting some good shots off on Sorokin, and the Islanders are really taking advantage of their block capabilities at the moment. Are we all secret Jets fans tonight? That is a great question, Shaggy, actually, that I think I drafted a tweet about on Twitter and did not send it, but I am curious how people feel about the Winnipeg Jets. They're not a large base that has like a ton of fans that I can understand. Like they're one of those base, I don't even know. Like I am not a huge like North Division fan, so like I don't know a ton about.
I have a lot to say on the Jets.
Okay,
watching them play. I've been to so many games when I lived in Minnesota to see them play the Wild, and I hate them. There's no way as a Wild fan you couldn't hate them, because whenever they play the Wild are just playing on the.
Is Winnipeg close to Minnesota?
What?
Is Winnipeg close to Minnesota? That might be a dumb question.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, I believe it's the closest Canadian team. But so it's a bit of a like.
Aaron, we have not done the giveaway yet. I know who's winning it. I picked that. I just haven't tweeted it yet because it was a very busy day on Twitter. Continue.
So I would say I just feel and then with the Jets Oilers series, I just feel like the Oilers. Last night was been so heartbreaking. I've seen so many posts, like obviously Connor McDavid is like a millionaire or whatever, but like he's so sad. I don't know.
He always looks depressed, like severely depressed.
The 2015 top 3 like of the draft class are all cursed. And I thought that was so funny because you think, so that's Connor McDavid who's with the Oilers and he's great, but they're not. And then you have Eichel, who is Buffalo, he wants out of there, right? Like that situation's horrible. And then you have Dylan Strome, who was treated horribly in Arizona. He's finally doing better. with the Blackhawks. I've been following that a little bit. He's also expecting a child, which I don't even know. 471. Small numbers.
Well, we got 100 subscribers yesterday, so who knows? We got a good question up here I want to go back to. Callie, I think is how you pronounce. I fell in love with hockey when I went to one of the Providence Bruins games, which is the AHL affiliate for Boston, back in 2012, I believe. It was the year that they had the lockout, and then the Bruins went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final with the Chicago Blackhawks, which was a heartbreaker. But I was just honestly happy to be there because every time they got another round farther in the series, I would text my best friend at the time and say, wow, they're fucked. They're not going any farther. And they went to Game 7 with the Blackhawks, and the Bruins, God damn it, do they love to go to Game 7 and lose. So it was really fun to watch. I have been a huge hockey fan ever since. Megan's been a diehard Pittsburgh Penguins fan her entire life. Again, she is not with us tonight. Jenna, how did you fall in love with hockey?
So obviously I gotta show off my shirt again. State of hockey. Growing up in Minnesota, you're either really into it or you're not at all. I grew up, my brother played, so being the little sister, I was like, I want to do everything that you do. So I started playing hockey when I was little, learned to skate. We had a cabin where I would go skate up there. Stopped playing for a long time, but have always loved the sport, got really back into it as a fan. In high school, I started working as a photographer and a journalist in high school for the AHL and NWHL, which is how I figured out that I wanted to work in sports, which is why I'm studying PR and journalism at BU because it's a great hockey school. And in college, I've started playing again. So it's kind of just been like a lifelong love of mine where I've gone through phases of being super into it and it just kind of being something that's around me.
Oh, a goal for Pittsburgh! While we were talking, the Pittsburgh Penguins went on a power play for slashing, and Evgeny Malkin lit the lamp for the first time this playoffs.
Good for him, honestly. I know Meg's been down on him, but
Craft Brewed Sports, that is a great – yeah, Meg has actually been really down on Evgeny Malkin, and I think that's a really interesting point. I mean, obviously, that was a great glove side goal, though, for him.
No, it
wasn't even a glove side goal. It was a pad side goal.
Yeah. I just love his story of I find it so interesting just how he had to kind of escape Russia to come finally play with Crosby. I just think it's one of those hockey stories that just will live on forever.
I think Panarin has a similar story that I really appreciate, having to kind of deal with Russian issues to come play in the NHL, which I really enjoy.
Yeah. And I think that's just a big part. I connect that story just to the dynasty of him and Crosby. You can argue if it's a dynasty or not, but there's certainly Hall of Famers there. You can't take that away. So yeah, good for him. I know there's some talk of the Penguins core keeping whether or not they're going to all stay together in Pittsburgh in the off season, but this will be a good run for them all together, even if it's the last time.
Yeah, 100%. Craft Brewed Sports, which is one of the podcasts on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network with us, wrapping up their series tonight. That is another great question for Jenna, since she is a Wild fan. I am sporting my Florida Panthers jersey tonight because I am praying that they can push it another game or two. Game 7 would be such a dream for that Battle of Florida that started off so hot and has trickled down a bit. And we talked about it on our stream yesterday, but that's not the only series, but it's one of the series where the score is not reflecting the aggressiveness of the play. Florida has really held their own in terms of offensive production, but their they have had 2 bad periods of goaltending that has turned into 2 separate losses. And that sucks when you're going against a goaltender like Vasilevsky. So I'm hoping they can push it another game. I think that the Oilers are probably done for. They have zero morale in that locker room right now, and I will let Jenna speak on the Wild.
Yeah, I guess I would agree. I think honestly, okay, I've said some things that might sound negative about Spencer Knight, but I honestly think if they end up putting him in net, that he can rise to the occasion and pull out a win for the Panthers. So I think that one might not be ending tonight. Jets, Oilers, man, no. That's over. The Wild, I'm so biased. I want, in my heart, I'm like, it can't end here. Like, they've done so well this season. How could it possibly end here? But also, they're the Wild. So I can't even come up with an answer. Like, I don't know. I'm nervous.
Ryan, I know you're a Wild fan. This is a good point. Kirill Kaprizov is from Russia, and he's played really well as a rookie. I loved the last time that the NHL was able to play in the Olympics, seeing the international play, just because the guys in the NHL are so passionate about their cultures and where they're from, and being able to see, honestly, just the roster shakeups and them playing against each other in that realm. The guys from Russia are so incredibly good and so competitive on the international stage, and it's sad that they can't do that anymore, at least on the Olympic stage. They can do it, obviously, in the World Juniors and things like that, but it's not the same once you get to the level of which, like, Alex Ovechkin can go play if he wants to, if they don't opt out like the NBA typically does, and things like that.
Yeah, and I do believe Kaprizov, because he was playing in the KHL, was at the last Winter Olympics for Russia when they won. Might have to fact check that, but I do believe he was playing. So, yeah, I'm hoping the NHL players will be back in the Olympics, because it's just not the same, and World Championships just isn't the same as well.
Got a lot of really great questions in the comments. Thank you, guys. Keep them coming. And let us know how you're feeling about these elimination games. Obviously, as fans who have, whether they're your first team or your second or third team, it is still sad to see teams go home. The most dangerous team in the playoffs right now is definitely up for debate, because you can't necessarily gauge how they're going to play once they get out of their division. I think a lot of people are saying that the Avalanche and the Golden Knights are both, dangerous teams. I don't think the Golden Knights are out here like scaring me because of the way they're playing. I know I've been saying for weeks that people are underestimating the Wild, but the Golden Knights have been sleeping for half the game, and then at the end they start just flinging things at the net and getting,
they really rely on Fleury, and goaltending it's something that isn't inherently consistent. So I think if there's any breakdown in their goaltending on the back end there, Vegas isn't competitive anymore.
No, I honestly think that if Vegas does move on tonight, the Avalanche will take that series. With regard to the other divisions, I think the Jets were a real surprise. I don't think
that lasts outside of the first round. I think it's just because they're playing the Oilers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch enough of the North Division to have a say there. I think that Tampa, again, is a huge threat, which is annoying because I hate them. And, Boston looks really great. I don't want to say that and sound biased, but they do.
Yeah. I would say, my mind automatically goes to the Avs as a very strong threat. But I will say, because I don't know how they're going to face against teams that they haven't been playing. But I honestly think, their success isn't just because of the teams they've been playing. I believe that they really could go on to win the Cup, and that any team should be nervous about playing them and should be worried that they're going to get swept, just like the Blues did. But
Officer Gaming, I love that you brought up this question, because it comes up all the time that his contract is up, and people think that just because a contract is up, they're going to go to another club. Evgeny Malkin, it's come up all the time. He has zero interest in playing outside of the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't think Alex Ovechkin has any interest in leaving the District of Columbia. I think that he will sign for maybe 2 or 3 more years and probably call it a day and go back to Russia. I don't think he'll leave right now. He's got 1 cup. That's okay. But he's slowing down a little, but not enough to call it quits on a career. Again, between 1 year and 3 years, I'm probably going to give him on another contract. But I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, I would be surprised if he signed somewhere else. But then again, I get so shocked by trades and signings, like Chara going to the Caps, stuff like that. That genuinely, every time, even though there's rumors about it, anything like that, I'm still shocked every single time. But I honestly think that Ovechkin is going to stay there if it's at all possible.
And Ovechkin, yes, he's getting old, but that entire core is getting old. I give them the entire team another year or two to probably make a good run at the playoffs, depending on what they do with the divisional structure next year, before the entire team needs to. I think when the team enters a rebuild, Ovechkin calls it a day.
Mm-hmm.
Hope the Avs win it. Question for Jenna. Do you think the Wild's offense is good or needs improvement?
I mean, I think every part of the Wild needs improvement, and it's just because they have so much money locked up in a player that's been their slowest defenseman and a healthy scratch. So, I mean, I think offense isn't their main issue. I
Reese
definitely
started
think,
yesterday, didn't he? Or 2 days ago?
yes, he was in the lineup, and
Or
that
in the
was
lineup, excuse me.
yeah, that was due to some injuries. So it's not really like saying, oh, he earned the spot, but he did play relatively well. He fought hard, but I just think that the Wild, they should have some prospects coming in. I think goaltending is always something that I feel like they need to have a bit more stable, but really it's the defense where I just don't. There's no one to help Spurgeon, and even he's been making mistakes. So I'm going to stick with defense as what they need to improve.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to our conversation yesterday, but like, what do you call a season success? Like, I'm of the opinion that if you're not making it to the Stanley Cup final, you probably need to make some sort of improvement. Not like a completely rebuild, but like if you're not making it deep in the playoffs, you should probably tinker something because other teams are obviously better than you in some form.
Yeah, and that can also be internal, though. I think the Wild are now at a point where they finally have prospects and players that are coming, which they haven't had for so long, except for like Eriksson Ek, which is he's finally, living up to his potential there. So I think, the Wild can acknowledge like, hey, if we need help on like Matt Boldy, like they refuse to put him in right now, which I'm kind of questioning because you saw Alex Newhook jump in for the Avs. I think the Avs also were going to sweep that series, though. But I think organizations, yeah, you need to reassess every season that you're not winning. It just doesn't have to be a big blow it up and throw all your players across the map.
Do the Wild have 2 first-rounders this year?
They do, yes. They had a conditional thing with Pittsburgh where it was either last season or this season, and Pittsburgh denied it being last season, so they get Pittsburgh's first this season, which could give them a really good advantage if they can get a player that can go right into the NHL, or even a player that's 1 or 2 years off.
Yep, so we tweeted this earlier, but Spencer Knight's going to get the start for Florida, which is, again, we debated this yesterday. If you're down 3-1, do you give your young guys experience or do you not want to throw them to the wolves? I mean, I think it depends on the situation. I don't hate this move. I know a lot of people have different opinions on young goaltenders. I don't know. I mean, again, Florida lost 2 of these games because of questionable goaltending. So, I mean, mixing it up in net is not something that I think is like the worst decision they could be making right now.
Yeah. And I don't think, if it's one game and it goes poorly, I don't think that's going to be terribly scarring for Spencer Knight. I think I was hesitant for them to throw him in any earlier just because I felt like that could maybe do some damage. But I feel like at this point, putting him in, if they've had that conversation with him and he says he's ready and the organization has faith in him, why not try it out, see what happens? He's definitely a player who can rise to the occasion. It's just a matter if he does.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Callie, give them a chance to learn. They have to at some point. I mean, the Bruins aren't the best at that. They really rely pretty heavily on the older guys, and then when the younger guys need to step up, they take a lot of bad losses. It's what just happened when they lost Zdeno Chara and Torrey Krug. And all these young guys had to come up on the blue line, and it took 20 games of line tinkering before they got comfortable with the blue line. So I completely agree that you've got to kind of mix them in at some point without, hurting egos. You actually asked a good question earlier, Callie, as well, what our favorite all-time player is and why. And just before we get to that, a quick update on where the Pittsburgh Penguins New York Islanders game sits, since we've had so many questions in the comments. We've got 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in the first period. Pittsburgh is obviously still up 1-0. Pittsburgh is out shooting the Islanders 2-1. Pittsburgh's got 10 shots. Islanders have 5. and we will see if the Islanders can even the score in these last 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Favorite all-time player and why, Jenna?
Oh, me first. Okay. I'm just gonna preface this with the fact that I am not really one, like I don't know. I know enough NHL history and stuff, but I'm not really one to look back at kind of the Hall of Famers and pick from there. So I'm gonna have to go with Mitch Marner. I mean, I did start being a Leafs fan in high school. But I think for me, Mitch Marner represents the kind of where the NHL is going. He's a smaller player by NHL standards, and he plays a smart and quick game. And that's the kind of hockey that I really like to watch. That's why I like watching the Leafs. So, and I feel like he also just has a really fun attitude. I love that he like draws on his gloves, just fun stuff like that. Interacts with kids really well. You know, he's a good face for the league. So that's definitely my pick on that.
What on earth?
What?
People, I want to preface that we did not prompt this. What are you doing?
I'm drinking.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Meg, I took your spot.
Jenna, what the fuck? Put me in my location.
No, you are the guest this evening.
How's the game? I heard we're winning.
It's wildly boring, I won't lie to you.
What?
It's so boring, I won't lie. They've got no shots, nothing.
What?
How is you? Yeah, you can't even hear me.
Anyway. Hi, Alex.
How's your game going?
Wait, go back. I know the Mets are losing. No, I meant like the Penguins are winning.
Yes, they
I
are.
know the Mets. Your score is wrong.
It says pregame.
You idiot.
She comes
I
in
have
and
to
yells
come on
about
the
the
stream to
score.
remind you that the Penguins have scored. So disrespectful. I leave the stream for one day and you fuck it up. I miss you. It's so boring. We're apparently still in pregame. No, we're serious now. Grubhub Mega Water now. No, guys, but I did get a double because it's more cost efficient. Anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely stream. I miss you all. I will be back eventually. I'll stop being out of office. You guys will see Lauren this weekend. I will. She'll be guesting with me. Lauren is a Rangers fan, so that's fun. Yes, your team is irrelevant. Anyway, bye friends. It was lovely seeing you.
Bye.
Cheers to the Penguins.
Oh, everyone. Mix in waters while you drink. Oh, but yes, Megan is with her friend Lauren that we know from school. She is a Rangers fan. I have family coming in town this weekend, so Megan and Lauren and Jenna will be holding on the fort. And we have 3 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in this game. Pittsburgh has 11 shots and 1 goal, and the Islanders have 19 hits. Damn. Maybe it's not as boring as I thought.
Yeah, it does seem like Pittsburgh has the energy early, though.
Abs fanboy, what does Meg eventually coming back mean? Well, that is a great question. Some dude, what is up? Do you think your team is knocking the Wild out tonight? Let us know.
The Leafs Habs game is still 0-0 with 6 minutes left with 4 shots each.
I said I was putting on the other game, but I didn't grab my other computer, so we're gonna have to go do that.
So honestly, it seems like that game is a little bit slower than this one.
All right, guys, how are we feeling about? Got 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the first period. The Islanders evening the score in this second period, like I said earlier in the stream, neither of these teams is particularly good in the second period.
Great.
Neither of them wow me in the second period.
Wow. Meg did check in on us already, so if we switched over to the Panthers.
That's true. She was supposed to check in to make sure that I didn't change this to a Florida stream. So,
and if we just keep the thumbnail, how would she know?
Oh, Statman, you keep it real. Patrick Sharp best be covering this game. Evan, Evgeny Malkin scored for the Penguins, which was his first playoff point of the series, which is exciting for him. A lot of people were not clear on what his offensive productivity was going to look like going into this series. He did miss game 1 for a lingering lower body injury, but he missed 23 games in the regular season due to that injury. So the offense was kind of operating without him, and a lot of people thought that he was not going to really be a huge impact going into this series. So excited to see that he has made a bit of an impact in this game in particular and started to make an effort in this series.
Yeah, and it looks like they were just showing Malkin in front of the benches with a little bit of shoving with some of the Islanders players. So he's definitely getting into it physically as well. So maybe this is the start of his impact. He's been quiet up until now, but maybe another goal, or maybe, in future games we really see him as a standout again.
Yeah, that was a good feed by the Islanders. They definitely have some good ideas going and how they need to get this offensive productivity going. Obviously, Tristan Jarry has some good statistics for the offensive goaltending mistakes he has made so far. Not in this game, but in this series. So interested to see how the Islanders are able to almost trick him in net. That's kind of the way that they're going to need to beat him with the mental mistakes. His goaltending basic skills are not bad. It's the speaking of the Islanders score! Speaking of Tristan Jarry mistakes, that is a goal on the pad side for the Islanders with 54 seconds remaining in the first period.
Okay, I'll be there in 6 seconds. Nice breakaway. It was basically 1-on-3 with some nice moves. So that was 18. I'm not sure. Oh, well, how do you say your name again? Beauvillier?
Beauvillier, yeah.
Okay, got it. Yes. I think him and Barzal are really fun players to watch. A lot of people.
I love JP Pajot, man. Like, I thought I hated the Islanders a lot more. Well, I'm going to hate them if they go to round 2 against the Bruins. But
yeah, I mean, obviously as a Leafs fan, like there's some tension there. Like I really felt like they were pretty disrespectful to Tavares. But I get it hurts to lose your captain. But I will say, like, Barzal and Beauvillier are really the, like, up-and-coming core there. And I feel like people don't give Beauvillier enough credit. Like, they focus on Barzal. But interesting to see that they tied it up. Maybe that will cause some urgency in the second period to see who can get the lead, or maybe they'll just sink back into the comfort of a 1-1 game.
Yeah, like I said, neither of these teams have shown a ton in the second period. So with them tied up, I'm curious to know if they're going to come out swinging or if they're just going to get cozy. We'll see. I mean, that was a really great, crucial way for the Islanders to end that period. The Penguins are looking a little defeated going into the locker room right now. Not surprising, but not good for Pittsburgh fans. If you guys are just joining us, I will update the banner. We have the Islanders tying up the game going into intermission. And for whoever said Patrick Sharp was coming on my screen, he is not covering this game. So
that's horrible. Watching me covering the Florida game.
I'll lose my mind.
Because that's the more primetime game.
I will change this stream so fast. You won't know what hit you.
No, you said, you have to stick with your word. You said that you were going to do with what they wanted, and they all said Penguins Islanders.
I did. All right, guys. Well, we're in intermission for the Penguins Islanders game. Like I said, Penguins out shooting New York, but the game is tied 1-1. We will see what happens in the next 2 periods of this game. The series is tied 2-2, so whoever comes out of this is taking the series lead going back to New York for Game 6.
Yeah. I'm just looking in again at the Leafs-Habs games, and it looks like Toronto took another penalty. So that's the third power play for Montreal, but the shots are still 6-6 with 4 minutes to go in the first. So it hasn't been super active around the net. I will say they were showing it. It looked like Montreal was getting some good chances offensively that didn't necessarily end in shots, but looked promising if you're a Habs fan. So, but yeah, on their 4-minute power play, they really didn't capitalize or get too many shots. Habs fanboy, can I do you a favor and beat Vegas today? I'll try. No promises. I am a bit of a duster, but I'll strap on my skates and try my best.
Sorry, guys. I am updating the banner because I realized that the Toronto game wasn't in there. But there are not enough characters to include all of the games that are on tonight in one thing. There we go.
Yeah, Montreal halfway through this power play with 3:10 left in the period, and they still haven't got a shot on net. So it really seems like they aren't able to capitalize on the chances they've had this first period.
Thanks for everyone hopping in. Frogman, Jeremy. Sorry Twitter chat's not working, but thanks for joining us on YouTube. If you guys are just hopping in on YouTube, make sure that you like the video, you subscribe to the channel if you're new with us, even if you're new with us on YouTube but have been following us on Twitter. We are in the intermission of the Penguins-Islanders game 1-1. We will see who can take the series lead at the end of this game. Jenna is providing updates on the Toronto-Montreal game, which seems to be a little bit slow at the moment. So we will see what happens there. And then we've got Tampa Bay and Florida hopping into Game 5 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So just about 15 minutes from now, probably a few minutes after 8 o'clock. And we will see that is an elimination game as well. Florida will have to take the win here if they want to push a Game 6. Let us know how you're feeling about the games tonight. I believe there are 2 others after that with Edmonton and Winnipeg, as well as Minnesota and Vegas. Ton of hockey happening tonight. Let us know what you're watching, how you're feeling, what your hockey anxiety is. Excited to hear about it.
Oh my goodness, Aaron. Yes, go to bed.
Oh my God. I had to take a nap in the middle of the afternoon today because I am just quite a bit burnt out from all the hockey. So because I'm still procrastinating cleaning my room, as we've talked about before, I decided today was the perfect day to do my first long workout since my season ended. So I did an hour-long workout, and I'm so sore, but my brain is still working. I had been going to F45 every day, and then I didn't go this weekend because I, like we had said on the stream, felt really sick on Sunday and preemptively canceled my class while I was at the bar Fridays, thinking I would be hungover Saturday, and I was not. So I was mad at myself there. But didn't go for 2 days and went today, and I felt horrendous. Never take 2 days off from the gym if you have not done it in a long time, because you may feel as though you'll die.
No, it's like like with hockey, like I'll miss a practice for a reason. Like I'll be studying for a test, and I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. Like I'll come back and it won't hurt, and it feels like I'm starting over.
I was like, oh, that's horrible. So yes, John, this is a great point. Sidney Crosby has been held to 0 points the last 3 games. And obviously going into what is going to be a series controlling game. And after seeing Malkin score, this is really important for Crosby to get at least a point here.
Update on Toronto-Montreal. So it looks like during the Montreal power play, Toronto was able to draw a penalty, so there's a bit of 4-on-4 overlap. But closing out the period, Toronto has a minute left in their power play now. So maybe they can get a little bit of momentum here at the end, but shots are still 6-6. I don't know if this is a broadcast glitch or if it's just that bad.
Do we get a we got a holiday in Canada? We did not. We get a holiday on Monday, though.
Yes.
So we have a long weekend. That'll be nice. We'll still be watching hockey. Don't worry. What's confusing about this week, though, since we do typically have our schedule. Yeah, I am eating a Slim Jim right now. What's confusing about this week, though, is that we typically have our week schedule set up, and we can't do that because games are going into elimination games, so we don't know when series are starting. Nashville surprised us yesterday too, John, but let me tell you why. Not because they won, but because they went for 5 periods. We were on this stream for 4.5 damn hours, and not because we wanted to watch a second game, but because we watched all 5 periods of that game. And it was incredible because we got 100 new subscribers. So if you're new with us, make sure that you subscribe. However, we were not expecting to watch Carolina in Nashville for almost 5 hours.
Listen, but honestly, I feel like after watching that, I have a better insight into that series and what it looks like.
I do. I feel like I learned quite a bit.
This might just be like Stockholm syndrome from watching that game, but I'm actually kind of excited to see their next game and to see what happens with that series.
Well, everyone slept on Nashville.
Yeah.
What happened to the Oilers game? Well, the Oilers do play a back-to-back tonight at 9:45 p.m. Eastern, but this is an elimination game by no one's expectations. The Jets have taken 3-0 in that series. Connor McDavid, I think, has 1 point in the series.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I really thought the series would be such an even matchup. Like, I really saw it going to 7 just because the Jets are kind of a more through and through team, and obviously the Oilers are better on the top end with those 2 players. But if those 2 players don't show up, this is kind of the series you get. So we'll see.
I'm also just really interested. I'm watching some recap of, well, did Toronto score, or is this from an old game?
No,
it was a save. It was an incredible save by Cory Perry. We are in the first intermission for Toronto and Montreal. But I think you guys said 2 or 3 points for McDavid. Some dude, I'm sorry, I did not watch the game last night. But if those guys aren't, they need 3 points a day if they want to win that game, because they only have McDavid and Draisaitl scoring points.
Yeah, I saw that there's those line chart graphics. I don't know what exactly they're called or how to describe them, but it shows the jersey with the numbers, and then it shows their names in like shades going from green to red based on how those players are ranked and how they're doing and that kind of thing. And they have like 2 green players on the Oilers, and you can guess who they are. And then they have a lot of red because that's just what their team is.
To debate the Patrick Sharp commentary going in the comments, he is either off today or he'll do the Edmonton Oilers Winnipeg Jets game at 9:30.
Listen, I feel like it's my duty to go to his Twitter and find out what's going on with Patrick. Where is this man?
The other big injury note that has just come up on intermission is that Nikita Kucherov is playing tonight for the Tampa Bay Lightning after taking a bad slash in the last game. We did think he was going to be out for a while. Yesterday when we were talking about it and conspiracizing about the injury, it looked like it was structural just because the hit wasn't that hard and he like goes down really awkwardly, but I guess it wasn't. And again, the hit wasn't that hard, so he's able to come back tonight, which is great.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like it was one of those hits where it was something where it was just a really awkward position where it hit, and in the moment, like it was a lot of immediate pain. Oh my goodness. No one is telling me where Patrick Sharp is. What is the point of Twitter if I can't keep track of Patrick Sharp?
If you guys are just joining us, we are in intermission for the Pittsburgh New York Islanders game. We are tied 1-1. Pittsburgh is out shooting the Islanders, but not showing in the scoreboard. So we will see how Sorokin and Tristan Jarry are able to hold up in net as one of these teams tries to take the series lead going into Game 6 in New York. Also going around the NHL right now, we are minutes away from the Florida-Tampa Bay puck drop. Florida's on elimination, not intermission, elimination watch. We will see if they can push it to a Game 6. Right now, Tampa Bay is holding a 3-1 lead in that series. Also, Toronto and Montreal are in intermission for period 1. That game is tied at 0-0. Toronto has had quite a few power play opportunities they have not been able to capitalize on, so we will see if they are able to get anything in the back of the net behind Carey Price in period 2.
We've got another wild question in the chat. Thank you, Ryan. So it's thoughts on Zach Parise. He's not playing for the Wild right now, and I don't know why. So I can tell you why he's not playing. I can explain it for you. So he really started with his normal kind of top line or second line position at the beginning of the season, and being on the power play, and we've lost Shannon. I'll keep going.
No, please do.
Okay, she's back. But as the season went on, as a Wild fan, we just watched him get less and less minutes and go down the lineup, stop being on specialty teams. And that's because, honestly, I think the leadership, and I don't mean the player leadership, I mean sort of the front office and the coaching, they don't trust him. He has been the face of the franchise there for so long, but I think they are ready to move on from Zach Parise and kind of his era of the Wild, because they have the ability to now. So he is a healthy scratch. They're playing players that are arguably worse than him. And I think it's to kind of make a statement. There was a mistake he made in overtime, which is really what led to him being a healthy scratch. And he didn't come back last game for the Wild in the playoffs, and that was because of an injury. So I really think that his time with the Wild as a player, at least, is done. I think he has not been the same since his back injury. I'm surprised they haven't tried to use some LTIR loophole with him. I've seen some fans discussing maybe they bring him back in some sort of coaching or development position next year. They offer him some sort of deal, or he tries to go somewhere else, honestly. Because I think the Wild, with where they're at, they don't want him there. The players do, but the organization doesn't. And it's creating a lot of tension, honestly. The Wild don't usually have drama, but it's been a lot of drama recently.
What other questions we got coming? Chelsea, the injury on Tavares. Yes, we did, Lucas Hockey. That was tough to see. It looks like he's doing okay, though. He's at home being taken care of by medical professionals, both within the team and from local hospitals. It is nighttime for Florida. Spencer Knight is getting his first career playoff start tonight for the Florida Panthers, who are down 3-1 against Tampa in their series. We will see how Spencer Knight fares. I mean, this will be his first. He's only made a few regular season playoff starts. He was only signed after the NCAA playoffs wrapped up with his time in BC. So this will be exciting for him, I'm sure, from a life perspective as well as the series perspective. Thank you, Mark, for joining us. I know we've got a few people that just hopped in. If you guys are just joining, thank you. We are about to start the second period between the Islanders and the Penguins. Be sure that you like the video and you subscribe with us if you're new. Let us know how you're feeling going into the second period, either with the Penguins and the Islanders or the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. I know that we've got the Panthers Lightning game starting in just a few minutes as well. Would I rather face the Islanders or the Penguins? I would rather face the Penguins just because the Bruins historically do not play very well against the Islanders. I know the Islanders have been a little streaky at the end of the regular season, but the Bruins play better against Pittsburgh. There's no doubt about it. I think Pittsburgh's roster, quite frankly, hasn't changed that much. Boston knows what to do with them. I do not want to play the Islanders. I mean, we'll do it, obviously, but I would rather face Pittsburgh. And if we play Pittsburgh, Megan and I will have an incredible series to stream, as Megan is a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. I'm a Boston Bruins fan. We will be cutthroat the entire week. We'll be doing every single game. It will be incredible to see who comes out of the East from that series.
Oh my goodness. I might have to stay off those streams. I'm a little scared.
We'll be fine.
I'm seeing some more wild talk in the chat talking about Matt Dumba. Yeah, Matt Dumba is kind of a big part of the defensive fall apart with the Wild. And yes, that is correct. Breezy will be playing today, and it looks like he's slotting in with Fiala, who he's had chemistry with before. So honestly, I'm excited to see that. And then Rask, not Tuukka. Don't worry, Shannon.
Tuukka Rask is snuzzing now that he has gotten up around two.
No.
Are you early for the LA Kings playoff game? Well, just about a year, I would say. But thank you for joining us. We really appreciate the support. Let us know what you think about what the LA Kings should do in the offseason. I know that trading Jeff Carter at the trade deadline was an interesting move for a lot of fans. So
there's got to be more California team representation in the playoffs next year. There just has to be.
I mean, I remember back in the early 2010s when an East Coast team going over to California was just an automatic, like, 2 out of 3 losses. Like, you knew you were going to lose most of them.
Yeah.
It was just really
hard to travel, but.
Well, yeah, a lot of it is the travel, but you knew that, like, Anaheim was really good with the Cory Perry, Teemu Selanne, Getzlaf core. And now, obviously, they've gotten older. The Sharks were in a really good position. The Kings won the Cup in that era as well. Eichel is rumored to be going, well, not going, but to be one of the top options for LA. So that'll be interesting. And who do you think will win tonight? You know, I want to say Penguins. But teams have been so evenly matched this entire series, so we'll see. I'm interested to hear what you guys think and who you think is going to come out with the second period momentum.
I honestly think with this series, like we talked about, I feel like if the Islanders can really take advantage of Jari being a young goaltender and get into his head, they really can score a lot. So it's just a matter of if the core of Pittsburgh can answer their scoring. So, I mean, we saw a goal from Malkin today. So if that core can really step it up, they have a chance. But I think the Islanders know how to get it past Jari and where his weaknesses are.
Well, we are back. The second period has begun, and the Islanders won the puck drop with a quick skate down into the Pittsburgh end with a quick turnaround and a great shot by Sidney Crosby. I know we were just discussing how Sidney Crosby has been held without a point for 3 games, which has been critical for the Penguins. Obviously, they've been able to hold their own with a couple other members of their offense, but if they do want to win this series and go into a second round against Boston, they're going to have to get more productivity from Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, back to the California, John in the comments was saying, yeah, the Ducks and Kings were pretty bad this year. I think so. The Ducks have Zegras, and I haven't really been following him beyond his year at BU, but I feel like if they get some more young additions there, the Ducks could really redefine themselves.
They actually had such good productivity from him once they brought him up that they sent him back down so that he could train to be in center because they had him on the wing when they brought him up, which is really great. Obviously, it's always frustrating when you see a guy doing really well and they send him back down. But
yeah, I will say center is what he I think specialized in at BU.
So yes, yeah. So they didn't immediately put him in center, and then they sent him back down to, I don't know where Anaheim's AHL team is, but they sent him back down so that he could develop more at center, knowing that Anaheim's career wasn't going anywhere. Megan had a really similar belief about Pierre-Olivier Joseph with Pittsburgh because he is a really, really, really great defensive prospect that was doing well. And Pittsburgh sent him back down to the AHL, and she was pissed about it. But it was because he needed more development, and they didn't want to have, a lot of the way that goaltending situations do, where if you have a guy come up for too long, it's going to screw with his development, and they didn't want to have that happen. And obviously it's been fine for Pittsburgh, probably frustrating for Joseph, but
yeah. I was like, okay, so people are saying yes, the San Diego Gulls.
San Diego Gulls. Thank you.
AHL team. I will say, I think people overall disvalue the importance of young players spending a bit of time in the AHL. A lot of people want to see them go straight into the NHL or go from college to the NHL. And I think, especially when we're talking about players like Ziers, that's a great example where they want him to be in a different position. It's a great chance to go to the AHL, figure that out, and be ready for the NHL. We've been talking about goalie prospects a lot recently with Spencer Knights coming in tonight. I think the best thing for him in the long term would be some time in the AHL. I think being an NCAA goalie doesn't necessarily mean you're ready for the NHL right away. And that's not saying you're a bad goalie. It's saying, developmentally, you want to have the best track you can have and you want to have continuous success. But yeah, it's really interesting to see how all these organizations are handling their prospects, whether they're headed to the playoffs, whether they're not, if they're calling players up. For me, I've seen the Wild continuously not call Boldy up, which makes me very frustrated. But we've seen some other players get called up for other teams, Newark, Caulfield, to name a few. So yeah, it kind of varies by organization what they do.
Yeah, I mean, and for a lot of them, it's easier based on geographic location. Like for Boston, they can call people up all the time and swap back and forth and really focus on development for those younger guys because it's just between Boston and Providence. For a lot of organizations, they have to go a lot farther. They have to get on a plane if they get called up or get called down, which granted, they're NHL teams. They have jets. It's not that difficult in some situations, but if it's the day of or if they really want to swap them back and forth, that gets really tiring when you're traveling every single day, going back and forth, trying to pick what your line's going to look like.
Yeah, and especially with COVID, I think this year that's been especially for trades or call-ups or whatever it may be for players going to a different team. I know Minnesota with Iowa, they don't have it too bad with calling up players. Chicago, and they have Rockford, so that's not too far. A lot of people talk about with the Leafs, with having their AHL team literally next door, that is a huge advantage that they have. People always call out the Leafs for having certain advantages. They'll have the money to give their AHL team 2 buses instead of 1 so they can sleep on the bus, things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know
Washington
is in Hershey, Pennsylvania, so it's a drive. I mean, but it's not a short drive. If you get called up that day, you have to drop everything. You're missing morning skate. You're probably getting dressed and like hitting the ice that day, unless they just have to plan farther in advance. And I think that's probably one of the farther ones. I mean, I'm sure there are some that have to fly, but still, I mean, Statman John, why have the Devils fallen off so badly? I picked the Devils as my dark horse this season, and I was so frustrated to see their demise because in the East Division, yes, they did finish second to last, but they were a pest for so many of these top teams. They were taking good wins against the Bruins, against the Flyers, who were not that great, against the Islanders, against the Penguins, and really just like poking the bear, for lack of a better term, with the Bruins pun. And for a while they looked really good, and then they went on bad stints of losses. And it shows that they have a lot of potential, and then they make trades like the Kyle Palmieri trade and are just dumping assets. And I'm like, well, are you going to rebuild, or are you going to stick with your core and really go off of it? I know that Kyle Palmieri was coming up on a contract year and was not going to stay for very long anyway, but then they dump other guys into this trade. They dump picks into this trade. And I'm like, why do you hate yourself? Like, why can you not stick with what you have and build off of it and have self-respect for yourself? And the Devils just do not look like a team that want to be good in the next 5 years, personally.
Yeah, it feels like they're trying to make moves so that they'll be good now. And I just don't think they're at a point where those are the kind of moves they can be making or making mistakes on. I think, it's either you need to, be looking other places, or you need to really invest in the guys you have. And I would lean towards the Devils needing to invest in the guys that they have, because I think honestly, some of their younger guys, I'm thinking that they're, from an outside perspective looking in, it looks like they haven't been developing some of their younger players as well as they could be. And if they really invest in those players, I think they could build a solid core from what they have.
It's just frustrating because they've lost first-round picks because they don't make an effort to keep them around and make them wanted and make them look like, yes, we will see success in upcoming years. And they're not the only organization that has had that problem. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of organizations that have had great prospects and have not, groomed them and not shown them that, yes, you will see success in coming years. You don't have to waste the first 10 years of your career in a bad organization before you see something good and you see the promised land and you even see the playoffs. Evgeny Malkin is going to go to the box for holding, since we were chatting about how he's looked pretty great in this game. There is 15 minutes and 20 seconds left in the second period. Pittsburgh's out shooting the Islanders, only 16-11 now, and the Islanders are going to go on this power play. So we'll see if they're able to capitalize on this power play after 5 minutes of play in the second period. But we do have a ton of questions in the comments. Before we get to those, thank you everyone that's joined us. We have some great viewing numbers in the video right now. I know we have some new faces too. Like I said, Lucas Hockey, Mia, Jeremy Tip 09, thank you. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Dan McCarr, Silk Alex, you are one of our newer ones that was with us yesterday. If you guys are new, make sure that you like the video, you subscribe to the channel. We bring NHL hockey playoff coverage every single day, whether Meg is busy at the Mets game or not. I know someone did ask where she was. She is at the Mets game. She will join us later this week after she is back from her trip to New York. So thank you guys again for hopping in. Let's see some of these other questions while we see if the Islanders can capitalize on this play.
Honestly, so it's been a bit since they showed so it was a hooking call on Malkin.
Yeah.
Looking at the broadcast, it really looks like a pretty soft call from what I saw. I only saw it just one replay though. So if anyone has opinions on that, let me know.
Yeah, we've got quite a few Penguins fans in the comments. Love to see that. Sad Megan's missing it. Obviously, our co-host, Megan, is, like I said, at the Mets game, but she is a huge Pittsburgh Penguins fan. So she is going to be very excited if the Penguins are able to take control of the series. Like we said, this is game 5. Series is tied 2-2. So whoever takes this is going to go in with the series lead going into game 6. This is a 7-game series. So winning this is getting pretty crucial. We're getting down to the wire here. Jeremy, Fly Sports Pod. That is fun to know what your YouTube name is. Looks like the Lightning have scored. That's depressing. Wasn't going to get a second drink, but might need to. Could anyone give me an update on if the second period of Toronto and Montreal has started?
It has started. So it's 18:45 on the clock on my stream, so it's obviously a little bit behind, but no shots on goal yet. So nothing too crazy there. I'm trying to see if they'll show the goal in the Tampa Bay, Florida stream, but they're just showing a slow-mo of a player skating.
The Lightning have thundered in front. Well, let us know, guys. We did chat earlier about how there are 3 teams up for elimination tonight. Obviously, the Washington Capitals made their grand exit, and the St. Louis Blues walked with their tails in their legs with a sweep from the Colorado Avalanche. They will be the only sweep of the series, as every other team has been able to get at least one win in their series. So St. Louis Blues, goal by Pittsburgh! Brian Rust scores from the top line. So Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh Penguins are able to take the lead 2-1 with 12 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the second period. Pittsburgh outshooting the Islanders 20-11.
And this is exactly what the Penguins need to be doing in this second period, because I just have a strong feeling that the Islanders aren't going to go quietly with one goal when they've had such success against Jarry. Like, the Penguins need to be stockpiling. Obviously, they should focus on defense as well, but you can't, rely on holding the Islanders to that one goal. So if they keep this up, get some more goals, and get a lead here that they can hold on to, hopefully for Penguins fans, they can keep that throughout the game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you that the Islanders are not going to go quietly tonight. I think that a lot of people, again, are underestimating the Islanders just because of their bad play in the end of the regular season, and they did fall to the 4th seed. But we've heard Barry Trotz say quite a few times during his end of season and playoff media days that he was the Pens did score. He was using the last few games of the regular season as basically preseason playoff preview, which is a gamble when you look at how intense the end of the East Division was. But, I mean, Barry Trotz knows what he's doing, so.
Oh, my goodness. I think my My Tampa Bay stream is so far behind.
I don't have my computer right now, so I haven't even seen it.
Yeah, I tried refreshing it, so we'll see if that does anything there. I've got a lot going on here. So it looks like in the Toronto-Montreal game, Toronto has got 3 shots on goal this period and held Montreal to 0. So it seems like the momentum is really in Toronto's favor here. And we'll see if they can capitalize on it. I will be sure to update that.
Yeah, Joseph Lanham.
Banner, Shannon.
What? Oh,
Banner?
I did update it. Wait. There we go. It didn't show. That's a really great point. The Islanders are not a second period team. It is not that surprising to me that they are not taking the immediate lead here, but they are a great third period team. They were a pest to the Penguins in the last 2 games in the third period. So I, again, do not think the Islanders are going to go quietly. I think that this is going to be a pretty high scoring end of second into third period. There are 10 minutes remaining in the second period. Islanders are being outshot 2-1 right now. Pittsburgh with 20 shots, Islanders with 11, but they are going down into the Penguins zone with a pretty good control over the puck. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think if the Penguins can end the second period, if they can get, 1, but preferably 2 more goals and have a 4-1 lead, I think that they have a bit of wiggle room going against such a strong third period team.
Yeah, I completely agree. Looks like Gensel took either a stick or a hit up high, trying to draw blood for a power play. I don't know if he'll be able to do it.
I was kind of interesting when they desperately are look, I'm bleeding.
They bite their tongues and they bite their lips so that they can draw blood, because then it becomes a 4-minute major.
Yeah, which is fair. I guess if that's the rule, do it. But it's always funny when it's not the mouth at all. It's some guy desperately rubbing at his ear, trying to convince the ref, and the ref just keeps. There was a game
clawing at his face,
yeah, and the ref's just skating away, just no, it's not gonna work. I would say though, Parise he had some blood drawn when he was playing. His lip looked pretty busted. And it sounds like there was also some blood drawn in the Toronto-Montreal game. And it also looks like Cory Perry left the bench at some. Yeah, so he left the bench and someone else is serving his high sticking penalty. Not sure exactly, because I just caught that as they were kind of starting to play after, but some interesting stuff. Finally,
I was going to ask what everyone's opinion on Cory Perry was, because he has hopped from team to team since he left Anaheim as, an older player in the league that doesn't have a huge impact, but he has been, although he was a part of the John Tavares injury, even beyond that, his name has come up quite a few times in this Toronto-Montreal game as a player that has made an impact offensively. So I'm curious what you guys are thinking about Cory Perry. Is it just because he's a playoff veteran? Montreal is relatively young. I'm just curious for thoughts.
Yeah. My personal take is I think he's been coming up a lot in the media because of the hit. I know some people have tried to frame him as the one to blame for that. I think that's baseless. I really think it was just a terrible accident. You can see from his comments after he's close with Tavares. But I do think that on the ice, he has also been a big name and a big influence on how the games are going. You'll hear the announcers talking about him a lot. And I think that's just because he's really contributing to the team. So I don't know necessarily if how many points he has in the series, if any, but I think that he's contributing regardless of that.
Pittsburgh is once again going to go on the power play for that high stick on Jake Gensel. So we'll see. They just had a good opportunity that Sorokin was able to stop, even after a couple of rebounds. So we'll see. Jeremy, I do agree that Cory Perry is a Hall of Famer. I don't know when he's going to hang up his skates, though. He does rub me as the guy that is going to probably play longer than he should.
Yeah, too long. But I don't think I think this season he's well within his right to play. It seems like he's on his game. And he knows his role on Montreal as a veteran.
Especially if Montreal's able to make it past Toronto.
Oh my goodness. Little Boomer mentioning Cory Perry's walk of shame at the Winter Classic. That was amazing. I love seeing all the edits of that with music over it as well.
The Islanders having a really hard time getting it out of their own zone during the power play. Looking like they're tired, even though this line has not been out there for that long.
Back in Montreal, it looks like Canadians cleared the puck, ending the Toronto power play. They really weren't able to do anything with it, but they have 6 shots on this period versus Montreal's 1. So they still kind of have the momentum there. It's still 0-0 though.
Jeremy, this is a good question. We were debating this the other day because that was a horrible pass by Joe. We were debating this the other day because there are so many players like Chara, which is, I can see is Officer Gaming's next question, will probably retire as a Bruin. He didn't win a cup with Washington. So that's primarily the reason that guys don't retire with the team they played the longest with. I'm assuming that Cory Perry is going to retire with Anaheim, but he also hasn't played with Anaheim in quite a few years. And they don't necessarily do the re-sign for a day thing that they do in the NFL.
Yeah. I think we had mentioned that before, and I was wondering, like, if any NHL players had really done that. Like, I don't know how consistent of a thing that is.
So, yeah, Officer Gaming, it's not really off topic. Do you think Chara will retire? Well, he's 44, so he should. I mean, should he? I don't know. Like, again, it goes back to the Ovechkin thing. Like, that team probably has another year or two that they could contend. And Chara didn't really slow down. He had a good amount of minutes.
Yeah, I think that he could definitely, if he's staying in Washington, fit himself in with their core and kind of say, I'll go out when these guys go out. Because I think, honestly, it just is a horrible look for him to really commit. You know, Boston says, you know, you don't have an option here. You go somewhere else or you're retiring. For him to go somewhere else and play one season and then retire, it just looks so bad from a fan perspective. I can't speak to what he's thinking, but I mean, I know with the Wild, like Koivu playing his last game in the playoffs and losing, and then he goes and plays like half a season with Columbus, and then he realizes he needs to be done. It's just hard to watch.
I mean, and I think, again, we don't necessarily know what Chara's thinking beyond his Peacock show, which hasn't covered this part of the season yet.
Yeah.
But part of me thinks, not that he necessarily cares, but it would look a hell of a lot like a regret if he retires right after the team he goes to gets knocked out by the Bruins. And again, he probably doesn't care, but that's what it's going to look like from an external perspective. And from the episode I watched of Z Born for This, I think it's called, the only reason he will probably retire is for his family, not because he thinks his health in any way is of concern, because he's in absolutely incredible shape. Oh, the Leafs scored.
Oh, nice. I will say, I think with Chara, if he really has conversations with the organization and, you know, that core is going out, if he has that conversation and says, hey, I want a couple more years, can you facilitate that? And I'll retire here in Washington. I think that's something that I think that Washington would agree to. I don't think by any means he has to retire now. And honestly, from our perspective, it's kind of a bad look. So maybe it is best if he doesn't retire now. Obviously, you know, health and family are super important, so those can play in. But if we're talking just about him and the league and the Caps, then I think, yeah, he definitely can play a couple more seasons.
Yeah, I'd be curious what you guys in the comments think about what Chara's tenure and lifespan in the league is looking like right now. I really think that he's going to stick around as long as the Capitals are competitive at the moment.
Yeah, I think when the Capitals start rebuilding, he's going to be with that group that's retiring.
Yeah.
What a goal for Toronto. I'm looking at replays right now. Just a great off the face-off to Nylander, just right at the bottom of the net. Price just didn't get his leg extended quick enough. It was just a quick shot.
Underwater, I read that as Jared McCann, and I don't know what the heavy baseball talk is in the comments tonight, but I have got maybe 4 baseball teams I can talk about. The Red Sox, the Nationals.
I love that they think
loosely the
that,
Yankees.
that I'm capable of talking about any other sport besides hockey.
Chara has had a very healthy career. He'll stay. Yeah, John, I agree with that. His contracts will not be multiple seasons. They will be year to year until, especially, again, I said Ovechkin's might be year to year too. I mean, I don't think that any of those players should commit and then retire off of a shit year.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 5 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the second period. Shot attempts are insanely favoring Pittsburgh, 38-14. With Pittsburgh shooting 26-11. Pittsburgh obviously up 2-1 on the Islanders. We'll see. I mean, again, the Islanders are not a second period team, and they are a great third period team. So I don't want to count them out yet.
But neither is Pittsburgh. Like, I think it's important to recognize that they did really step it up this period.
They did.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they get on the board again, just with how many shots they're getting. They clearly have the advantage here.
Well, they just had a great opportunity with a awkward hit situation on Sorokin. I hope he's okay. They kind of pulled the camera away. Islanders actually only have 1 shot this entire period, with Pittsburgh having 16.
See, that's just crazy. Oh my goodness. On my screen, I'm definitely behind. But yeah, the Islanders goalie was just kind of...
Yeah, Sorokin had a really awkward hit. I hope he's okay. Florida's back on the power play. Little Boomer, thank you for those updates, because I do not have my computer to stream that game in front of me. For everyone that's a Buddha fan, he is snoring so loud right now. So if Sorokin is hurt, Varlamov can go in. Big play, Slay. Thanks for joining us. If you guys are just hopping in, we've got 4 minutes remaining in the second period between Pittsburgh and the Islanders. Pittsburgh is massively controlling the second period. They've been able to take the lead 2-1 in this period, with the series tied at 2-2. If you have not yet, make sure that you like the video and you subscribe now. If you're new with us, we provide daily coverage of the NHL playoffs, and we are excited to see what happens both in this series as well as the 4 other NHL playoff games happening tonight.
Yeah, it looks like in the Panthers-Lightning game, it's now going to be 4-on-4 because of a call. There was a bit of a mess in front of the net there. I want to know if anyone's been watching that game more closely, what they've thought of Spencer Knight so far. Obviously, he's faced 8 shots. He's let in 1, but that doesn't necessarily tell the story of his game. So if anyone has any insight to how he's been doing, I'm definitely curious.
Yeah, the Penguins' shot count is just absolutely insane. They are at 31 and not at the end of the second period. If they bring this momentum into the third period, Ilya Sorokin is going to have to face upwards of 50 shots by the end.
I just don't know if they can continue this, because if the New York Islanders step it up like they usually do in the third period, I think the Penguins might just crumple to that, because they've been putting in so much effort and so much energy into this period, and it's just not translated onto the board for the past 10 minutes.
You're right. I mean, they have got 20 shots in the second period, and they're up to 22 hits in this game. I don't think that they can keep that momentum going in the third period, especially knowing that the Islanders are going to get whipped in the locker room in this intermission and are hopefully going to come with some excitement going into this third period. Again, Barry Trotz is an incredible playoff coach. He did coach the Capitals to their 2018 Cup. He did coach the Islanders deep into the playoffs the prior year, and he has had playoff success prior to that. So it's hard to think that he is going to go into the locker room and let 1 shot on goal in an entire playoff period fly with this team, with the series tied at 2-2.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit this stream about some good playoff coaches, but I want to know if anyone in the in the chat has any opinions on if there's any coaches that are bad playoff coaches that might not be a bad coach necessarily during the regular season, but really don't step it up for the playoffs.
That's true. Before we get to that, Jeremy, I do not believe that they are at 50 or full capacity. I think they're closer to 50 or 70% capacity.
Yeah, it's looking like there's enough empty seats that I don't think that's just people not buying seats.
It's interesting because technically no arena's at full capacity. Because all of those seats are covered behind the bench and around the ice for the player safety. Most of them, if they're at quote unquote full capacity, are actually at 94% capacity. Barry Trotz is a Hall of Fame coach.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but in terms of coaches that are on the chopping block in terms of playoff success, that's a good question.
Because there's teams like the Leafs have been making the playoffs and getting out in the first round over and over and over again, but they've had a coaching change, and I obviously don't think that.
Yeah, the Canadians have an interim head coach because they fired Julian during the season.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of, I think I don't know how recently the Oilers changed their coach, but that could be one.
I feel like there was a relatively recent change there as well.
I mean, how long has McDavid been in the league? 3 years?
He had a different, there's a new coach there, right?
Okay, if there is. I genuinely don't know, but I was going to say that could be one. What's the Wild's coaching situation like?
They've had quite a few switch ups there. Honestly, I haven't been looking at that so much, but I feel like because Evison is their coach right now, Dean Evison, and I honestly think that he's really has a strong voice in who he wants on the ice, and he's part of the reason that Parise has not been playing. So I think that he's been a strong coach this season, and in the playoffs, I don't know if that's I just think that he's been quite heavy-handed. I don't know if that's necessarily a good or bad thing. I think he needs more time for me to kind of have an opinion on that.
That's fair. I don't think anyone from the Battle of Florida is at risk. Joel Quenneville is a great coach, and obviously Tampa's on a back-to-back situation. We just are there's 1 second remaining, so we're about to go into intermission. If you guys are just joining us, thanks for hopping in. The Penguins are leading the Islanders 2-1 going into second period intermission in the third period. The Penguins came out and absolutely controlled this period with over 20 shots on net. The Islanders had less than 5, so we are excited to see how this plays out in the third period. The Islanders are really a third period team. Let us know who you think is going to take out this game. If you think the Penguins can keep control or if the Islanders are going to stir the pot a little bit going into the last period. And as always, if you have not yet, make sure that you like the video. Make sure that you subscribe if you're new with us. We do NHL playoff coverage every single day, and we are happy to answer your questions on any of the other 4 or 5 games going on right now, as well as the other games going on throughout the week. Do we think we do the same in the third? I don't think so. I think that was a lot of energy in a very short period of time. And I think that the Islanders, again, Joel Quenneville is an incredible coach. I do not think that he's going to let them come back and have under 5 shots in another period.
Yeah, there's no way the game stays at the pace that it was. I saw a comment from Ryan saying Bruce Boudreau was a terrible coach for the Wild. I could agree with that. And then asking, did he coach the Bruins?
I think back in the day he did.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't super impressed with his leadership there. I felt like he really didn't get them anywhere. There's another question, Statman John asking if I could have one player in the NHL come to Minnesota, who would it be, excluding Crosby, Ovechkin, Matthews, McDavid, and Eichel? Honestly, if I was going to have a list of players you should have excluded, I probably would have put in McKinnon for Eichel, because my answer is I'm going straight to McKinnon on that one. I feel like this might be because I was having a recent conversation with my dad about how McKinnon is the kind of playoff scorer that the Wild could really benefit from. But I also think that if they could bring in some of the stronger defensemen in the league, I feel like that could really help them as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Bulldog44, thanks for watching from Japan. That is super fun. Glad to see that you are enjoying the stream and that you are rooting for the Islanders. I completely agree with that other comment, though, Jenna. A lot of people just assume that, not saying that whoever asked that question did, but that you need offensive weapons and that you don't need a blue line. And for a team like the Bruins, who desperately just saw their blue line go to shambles and had to rebuild it out of the Providence Bruins, you never underestimate the skill level of a high-caliber defenseman once you see guys like Torrey Krug or Zdeno Chara leave your roster. It is incredibly important to see. And, like, Charlie McAvoy has really stepped up. But guys like Aaron Ekblad go completely under the radar.
Yeah, and I think that's just because it's harder, with offensive players, you say, okay, they scored this many goals. They said, this many assists, that kind of stuff. Like, it's easy to track what they're doing. But with defensemen, I feel like people often rely on plus minus, which is honestly a pretty outdated stat. So you have to look into some of the more complicated ones. Also, looks like Montreal scored. So it's a 1-1 game there in the North Division. And I believe it is still 1-0 with the Panthers.
Oh, and I've got intermission coverage of Florida. Look at my boys in red. If you guys are watching or interested in other games tonight besides Penguins and Islanders, let us know who you're rooting for. I know there's quite a bit of hockey tonight. If you bet on any of the games, I see Alex just hopped back in. I know we've got quite a few subscribers that are sports bettors. If you're excited about any of these eliminations, let us know. Jenna is a Wild fan, so she's going to be a little stressed later this evening.
Oh, yeah.
Teams on elimination watch. Oh, I haven't seen
Alex's most recent comment. So the Wild could use Cale Makar more than McKinnon. I agree with that. But any of these hypotheticals we think of, like, there's no way the Avs would give up either of those players for, like, any sum of anything. And also the Wild have nothing to offer. So.
Yeah, I mean, I could say all the people throughout the NHL that I would like the Bruins to acquire, but, like, there's no way it'll happen. They'll be like, give me Connor McDavid, your next 10, or not Connor McDavid, Charlie McAvoy, your next 10 first-round picks. Like, it's not possible.
Yeah, I will say, though, I feel like the Bruins did a really good job in getting Taylor Hall and getting a player that, teams need to kind of take those risks on those guys that have done well in the past and are struggling, and it might just be because of the organization they're with. I think, especially if you're getting a guy from the Sabres, he's probably better than he looks.
Yeah, and, poor Sabres GM, who's in his first year, and the Bruins front office absolutely assaulted him. I'm so sorry. But, again, there were a lot of, even after the trade, there were Bruins fans that were like, I didn't want Taylor Hall. Like, why did you do that? Blah, blah, blah. After we gave up nothing. Like, we gave up nothing for that.
I mean, I will say he does have a history of really, like, people joke that whatever team he goes to, like, they then win the draft lottery. Like, there is some sort of correlation between him and teams not making the playoffs. But I honestly think that he is a skilled player. It's just about him being in an organization that he fits in with, and it seems like the Bruins is one.
Yeah, I mean, and I am such an advocate for chemistry on both your lines, within your locker room. If a player is not happy, they're not going to play well. And Taylor Hall has not been happy in the last few teams that he's been playing with. And it shows a little bit more in some of the other professional sports where the emotions come out a little bit more. But in the NHL, Taylor Hall is an absolutely perfect example. He was not happy playing in Buffalo. He was not happy playing in Edmonton, and he was not happy playing in Arizona. And it showed because his production was horrendous. And so he goes to Boston. He already scores more than he did the entire season in the first, 2 or 3 games. And the chemistry is there. The excitement is there. The fan base he's been looking for is there. And again, he has to re-sign or he's going to look like he has commitment issues. Separate, I am a Boston fan, I'm sorry. But yeah. I mean, he's got everything he's been looking for. It's going to be almost a situation of like, do you actually want to be happy in the league here if you can't figure it out? Because this is the best you're going to get.
Yeah, I honestly would be so surprised if he didn't sign there. And I think it is fair to say that it was a risk because every team he has been with, he has struggled with. But that's the importance of having a front office and having scouting, really good scouting, and having really good, hockey minds that are able to look with an eye test and with stats and to really think about everything going on off the ice.
Jeremy, I think we will be able to re-sign, we being the Bruins, because they are going to strategically release people at the Seattle deadline that are going to be a little bit different than other organizations. The Bruins have a lot of baggage in larger contracts in guys that other teams are interested in. But again, going back to the chemistry thing, have just not played well with Boston, and I don't think are going to have a career here the way that they could in other organizations. Again, Anders Bjork went on the other direction with this Taylor Hall trade, and he actually had quite a few points on the other side, which is great looking at how Buffalo played this season. So guys like that not that Bjork was playing horrible, DeBrusk was playing horrible, and now he's looking okay in the postseason. But Boston is going to release guys that are at a higher caliber that other teams are not going to necessarily do just because of the cap hit, the way that they see building into the future. They don't want to go into a rebuild. We'll see. And Boston does have a lot more cap space than other teams do because they just lost guys like Torrey Krug in free agency last year.
Yeah, I will say, as much as I hate to admit it, I feel like they're in a really good position to sign who they want, keep those players that they want, and, make trades that set them up for a good position in the future. They can get rid of some guys with Seattle, but also just making trades and asking for picks, Yeah,
in the Seattle, there's a week of just Seattle trade deadlines, Seattle draft, Seattle whatever. It is the week of July 23rd through the 26th. That is just all Seattle Kraken, all them building their roster. The specific dates are escaping me, but that is going to be all them all the time. I'm not entirely sure when the date to protect is. I'll have to look that up. But in terms of the specific draft, it's the end of July, which is tracking because the end of June, early July is when the Stanley Cup is going to wrap up.
Yeah, I'd be curious because I know there's a lot of fans of different teams, and we have a lot of people in here right now, which is exciting to see. But which players people think Seattle's going to take from different teams. So that involves who do you think is going to be protected, but then what name ultimately goes to Seattle? Because obviously, I've been thinking about this in relation to the Leafs and the Wild, and it's a hard question. I definitely don't have the mind of Kyle Dubas, so I don't know what's going on in there. But I don't know. I always worry about losing some favorites.
Yeah, so underwater, it's actually not possible for Vegas to lose a superstar to Seattle because they are not participating in this expansion draft. Because they are such a new team, they do not need to participate based off of NHL rules, which is interesting since they did make a Stanley Cup run in their first season. This is a new rule, and there are a lot of expansion draft teams like the Columbus Blue Jackets that are newer, that are very frustrated about this rule because they saw Vegas see such early success. And now they are still struggling and trying to see themselves make a cup run and are not able to do it. And Vegas is out here, competing. They're a cup favorite this year, and they don't have to give anybody up where the other 30 teams do.
But honestly, I think that Vegas, a lot of people are the expansion draft wasn't fair. They got all these good players. But honestly, I think their team success, like we've been talking about, really comes back to chemistry. I think the group there, they really embraced the new hockey town, the Vegas atmosphere. There was the shooting before the season, which they really rallied around the community. And I think there was a lot going into that isn't just the players' skill.
Yeah, and I mean, there have been other professional teams that have moved to Vegas in the last years as well. The Raiders just moved there, and they had a complete rejuvenation of their franchise this year as well. I mean, they didn't go far in the playoffs or anything like that, but prior to other years when they lived in Oakland, completely different. One of the comments we have here is Seattle going to take either Dumba or Parise. Parise might be a good fit for them. We did talk about this in other situations because Seattle and other expansion teams, not just Seattle, but in an expansion draft, you have to strategically plan picking young prospects and young sharpshooters as well as veterans. If you don't mix in enough veterans, you're not going to be able to organize the team. And that is something that the Blue Jackets struggled with, but Vegas did incredibly well because they had guys like Marc-Andre Fleury on the roster that had Stanley Cup playoff championship experience. They had the experience of leading in the locker room. They could keep their cool and their poise during pressure, like your first ever NHL game, things like that.
Yeah, I will say on this one, though, it's hard for me to imagine Parise going there. I mean, someone said in the comments that he might refuse to play for them, but I honestly believe, like, yeah, as a new team and an organization, like, they would have the money to take on his contract, but his contract still sucks for what you're getting. And you don't know, like, I think you're looking at his value and you're looking at how his season is going with the Wild, and you're thinking, is there some issues there with him? Like, I think that's just a risk that I don't think Seattle is going to be willing to take. Dumba, I can imagine them taking if they think that this end of the season has just kind of been a fluke for him. His value has definitely gone down. I think he might go unprotected by the Wild. But yeah, I could definitely see him going there. I saw someone back to the Penguins talking about Zucker, a former Wild player, going to Seattle. And honestly, I like that both for Pittsburgh and for Zucker himself. I feel like he would get, he'd get to be a veteran there. He might get more playing time, get to really shine in Seattle. But also, I don't think Pittsburgh would be losing a whole lot with him.
Yeah, one of the other points that since we're talking about Vegas, they have not hired a coach yet. So that is actually going to have a really great impact on who they're taking, because obviously coaches have different opinions on what players they like to coach and which ones they do not. And expansion teams have a really great perspective on who they can choose and who they do not, because if they're choosing around what the coach and the GM prefer and what they like to build around, that's very different than us just choosing, oh, well, Parise might be a great bet, it might not be a great bet, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think with expansions, like we talk about like the team chemistry and everything, but I also think when you're building an organization from the ground, watching who Seattle has picked to work for their organization has been extremely exciting. And every time they announce someone getting a new position, I see nothing but good things about those people, even if I haven't heard of them personally before. So I think they have that advantage because they don't have the weight of having, ownership or people already involved who have all these biases against who might be joining or, keeping people within the organization. They're really building the culture even before they have players. And I think it's just exciting to see.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Little Boomer, for clarifying. I was a couple days off. But the expansion draft is July 21. The entry draft for draft prospects is July 23 and July 24. So that will be really exciting. The expansion draft protected list, which is what we're chatting about, and which teams will or will not protect given players, due July 17th. So that will be, again, right around when teams will probably have like 3 weeks to plan after the Stanley Cup playoffs are done. Since right now we're at the end of May, we're wrapping up the first round probably by this weekend, starting the second round in the first week of June.
I'm really excited for that kind of, late July with the NHL, because sometimes the off season can really drag on and just nothing really happens. As someone who's primarily a hockey fan, not really into any other sports, I think I don't really have anything else to go to in that time. So I'm excited. I do a lot of coverage of college, obviously. So the entry draft is always interesting for me to see. And hopefully my own podcast will be starting back up for season 2 then. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look at the regular, usually the Stanley Cup ends late May, early June, and then it doesn't start again until September. NHL doesn't start again until September. And when you look at football, doesn't start until preseason starts in August. Basketball ends right around the same time as hockey. So then you've got baseball all summer, which, again, I love myself a baseball game, but I do not sit and watch baseball during the day. So it's things like expansion drafts, things like the entry draft, things like that get you excited about what's coming, but then you've got to wait a couple months again for it to come. So
yeah, I think there's just no urgency with the MLB season because there's so many games.
Yes, 182 of them. If you guys have not yet, obviously we are in the second intermission of the Pittsburgh Penguins New York Islanders game. The series is tied 2-2. Pittsburgh holds the lead 2-1 right now after an incredible second period. We are sitting at 42 likes on the video and 534 subscribers. If you did not join us yesterday when we hit 500, you missed out because we are now on the road to 1,000. At 1,000, somehow Megan and I have committed to a 24-hour stream. I don't know what is going to come of that. If we are even watching hockey in that stream, we'll see. But if we hit that before the end of the playoffs, you all get what you want and see us for 24 hours. So please make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you've not yet. Make sure that you like. We are trying to hit 50 likes at minimum for every stream. Excited to see us probably hit that since we've got a whole nother period of hockey to watch. Only 3 preseason games. I mean, I guess that's fair. Everyone tells me how worthless the NFL preseason is. Chloe, thanks for joining us. I know we've got a few people sitting in the comments. Make sure you hit us with your last few guesses on who you think is taking the end of this game as we go into the start of the third period. Again, Pittsburgh came in with a really strong second period, but the Islanders are a third period team. So excited to see what comes out of this. And then obviously whoever wins this is taking the series momentum going into New York for game 6, and there will only be 2 games remaining in the series, if necessary, after that.
It looks like updates are on the league. So the second period of the Leafs-Canadiens game just pretty much wrapped up. The Leafs will go into the third on the power play, and it is 2-1 in favor of the Leafs there. And then it looks like the Tampa-Florida game is still 1-0 at the end of the first.
Fantastic. And we have period 3 has begun for the Pittsburgh Penguins and New York Islanders. Like we said, get your last chance end of game scores in. I know one of you snakes is going to say overtime. I haven't seen it yet, but I know it's coming. One of you is going to say it, and one of you is going to speak it into existence.
Oh, no.
Frogman, I don't think 3-1 Penguins after the period they just had. Like we said, the Pittsburgh Penguins shot over 20 shots to the Islanders less than 5. So there was quite a bit of offensive lean toward the Penguins in period 2. Again, the Islanders are historically not a second period team. They are great in the third period. We are looking forward to see if Barry Trotz whipped these New York boys into shape or if Pittsburgh will continue to hold control here in the third period. Yeah, feel free to throw your guesses in for the other games going on right now. Like we said, Florida and Tampa is in period 1 intermission with Tampa holding a 1-0 lead. And we have the Toronto-Montreal game sitting at 2-1 Toronto in intermission for period 2 as well.
I'm seeing quite a few people in the comments saying 4-2 in favor of the Pens. And honestly, if they keep up the momentum they had, I'd believe it. But I just feel like the Islanders are going to come back with something ugly and pull away here. We're actually seeing calls for no OT. This is a new one.
People, that's what I love to see. Can't handle an overtime. That's fair. Like we said, we did quite a bit of overtime yesterday. And yes, it did get us 100 new subscribers. However, I have so much homework to do this week because I didn't have time to do homework while we watched all those overtimes. So we need to circle back.
For your grades.
For my grades. There's one. I have a textbook that's sitting in an Amazon box still. So if anyone's good at managerial accounting, let me know.
Ooh, no. I really pride myself on, so I'm in COM, the College of Communications at BU, and people people call it COM, but they'll also call it the College of Optional Math. And I really pride myself on that because I will never take a math class in college.
So I only took the required ones, and then I went to business school. So we've begun period 3. If you're just joining us, between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders. Again, make sure that you like the video and you subscribe to the channel. If you're new with us, Pittsburgh is out shooting the Islanders by over 20 shots, and they are holding a 2-1 lead in this period. We will see if the Islanders can take any control of the offensive momentum here. Obviously, if the Pittsburgh Penguins are able to win this game, they will go into Game 6 in New York with a 3-2 series lead. Same with New York if they are able to. Oh, that was not a goal, but it looked a hell of a lot like one. If the New York Islanders are somehow able to take control of this game, they will go into a home ice advantage with a 3-2 series lead.
Also, Statman John, do not think I did not see your call for Minnesota at 7-6 in double overtime. The game is at 9:30 here, and granted, I have nothing to do tomorrow, but I just
that's not true. He has plenty to do for the slap shots.
Oh yeah. Right.
All right, guys. I know we've got some new folks hopping in the comments. I hope the Islanders win. I hope the Penguins win. You're all very split. Call Rust for the next goal. Rust, that would be his second goal of the game.
And he's considered part of the core there, right?
Surprised how few people are saying they want Crosby to score, considering he's on a 3-game drought. I think it's going to be Carter. That's a really good guess. Carter has been on an absolute tear since he's been traded into the Pittsburgh Penguins, which is interesting since we really tore apart that trade. And not because Carter is by any means a bad player. He's an incredible offensive weapon, but the Pittsburgh Penguins did not need another offensive weapon. You all need defense, man.
I will say, from someone who's not really a fan of either of these teams, a Crosby goal would just be like, they're always so pretty. I mean, not always, but they just tend to be. And I feel like that would really make me more excited about this game. It's weird seeing all the stars these playoffs just not quite get a handle. I guess McKinnon had a hat trick, so ignore him. But
yeah, Crosby, like we said, is on a 3-game goal drought. He did, I think, have a point on the Rust goal. We'll have to double check on that. If you guys are just joining us, thanks for hopping in. I know quite a few of you just joined. We are with 4 minutes into the third period between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders. Pittsburgh is holding an aggressive offensive lead, outshooting the Islanders 34-14, holding a 2-1 lead. If they win, they take the 3-2 series lead, going back into Game 6 in New York. Let us know who you think is going to score the next goal. Obviously, the Islanders desperately need a game-tying goal in the next 15 minutes, and the Pittsburgh Penguins are hoping to hold this lead so that they can wrap this shit up in 6 games.
Have the Islanders had a shot on goal this period? I don't remember what they started with.
No, they have not. They had less than 5 shots on goal last period as well, for those of you who are just hopping in. The Pittsburgh Penguins had over 20 shots on goal in the second period. The first period was a little light on offense with a 1-1 score at the end of that. Oh, Jeremy, we went so long without an unlike.
I would say, so if you do believe the Islanders are going to pull this out, it looks like Griffin in the comments said he thinks Barzal will score and then Nelson will score the winner. So
okay,
that's definitely a possibility. They need to do it first.
Griffin, thanks for joining us. We were talking earlier about how Barzal was due. So let us know who else you think is due for a goal. I know that we've had in quite a few series now, it's been the same few players scoring. And particularly with a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders, you do have quite a bit of offensive diversity on each side. So there are plenty of people you can guess. I know that Jared McCann has not had a point in this series, or not had a goal in this series yet. Beantown Breakdown, thanks for hopping in. Talk about the GOAT of yesterday who sent in reinforcements and got us to 500 subscribers. Again, if you guys are just joining us, we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so make sure that you hit the sub button. We do NHL playoff coverage every single day. We are now watching the Pittsburgh Penguins New York Islanders game. Pittsburgh holds the lead 2-1 with 15 minutes left in the third. 5 shots on goal so far. Yep. Buddha is snoring like Hamilton the pig, let me tell you.
Can you confirm that Hamilton the pig snores?
I have to assume a potbelly pig of that size snores that loud.
Wow, that's a bold assumption.
Try doing both games tomorrow. That's such a bold request. Which games are you referencing?
Both.
I have to care about them.
There was the 500 promise doubleheader, but I don't know.
Yes, but I said a weekend doubleheader.
Yes.
I do work.
Let's see. What is the NHL schedule?
I'm also. Oh no, it's not Wednesday. I certainly cannot do a doubleheader Wednesday. Thank you. Over 50 like hype. Thank you everyone that's liked the video. If you have not yet, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. You do not need a YouTube channel to subscribe. You just need a Gmail account. So if that helps you, we are all in the YouTube grind together. If you have not yet, check out Bobby's channel, Beantown Breakdown. He is a Boston-specific account that covers all sports, has plenty of fantastic takes both on the Bruins, Celtics, Red Sox, Patriots, all of them. Go check it out.
In regards to tomorrow, it looks like there's just 2 games on the schedule. So that's the Leafs because they're doing a back-to-back, and then the Preds Hurricanes game. So they're offset by 30 minutes. So if we did cover both, it would just be.
I'm going to be trapped into the Preds Hurricanes game again. I already know. Yeah,
I will say there's so much coverage of the Leafs. It's overwhelming. I keep seeing the information for Steve Dangle. You can watch games with him.
Yeah, so there are quite a few channels that are heavy on the Leafs content. So we rarely do Leafs games unless you guys specifically request them. However, I'm not going to 100% commit to it, but we will likely do the Preds Hurricanes game tomorrow.
Yes. Also, for reference, I'm in Central Time. So sorry, that was not Eastern Time that I was talking in.
Oh, yeah. Bobby, I said it earlier, but I would rather play the Pittsburgh. I'm a Boston fan. I would rather play the Pittsburgh Penguins because Boston historically does not play well against the New York Islanders.
I love how you answered a question that then got deleted.
Oops. Thorn Grub, thanks for joining us. Buck Skull Gang in the house, thanks for joining us. I know the Bolts are up. I'm sure you're feeling good. Joe Buck are these announcers. Well, it is on mute, but I know quite a few people who do not like Joe Buck. Yeah, guys, thanks for hopping in at the end of the game here. We've got under 15 left. Pittsburgh is holding a 2-1 lead. The Islanders are coming in and trying to fight it up to tie. We were taking guesses on who you thought was going to score the next goal, still taking guesses. Around the league, we've got Florida and Tampa Bay playing in an elimination game. Florida's got to win this to push it to 6 games. Tampa Bay, however, is up 1-0 in intermission. Edmonton and Winnipeg is starting at 9:45 p.m. Eastern time. Edmonton is on sweep watch. Winnipeg is up 3-0 in the series on a back-to-back. Minnesota and Vegas also on sweep watch with Minnesota potentially being eliminated, or not sweep watch, elimination watch, excuse me. Toronto and Minnesota or Montreal 2-1. I'm just losing my verbiage here. I was doing so well briefly. Jeremy, I can't tell you who the announcers are because my TV is on mute. However, I know Patrick Sharp is not doing intermission reporting.
And that's the most important thing you could have gotten out of that. So
interesting stat, man, that you think the Bruins would beat the Islanders in 4 or 5, but the Penguins would be a 7 game. Vegas is sleep watch. Interesting. It looks like we're back from commercial break. We will see where the face-off is. I didn't catch where the play ended. Thank you guys that are just hopping in. If you have not yet, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you're new with us, we do NHL playoff coverage every single day. Neutral zone face-off for Penguins Islanders. We've got 11:53 remaining in this game. Pittsburgh out shooting the Islanders 36-14. Third period shots, 4 for Pittsburgh, 0 for the Islanders.
This is unbelievable, honestly. Like, this whole time we've been talking about Penguins need to be careful. The Islanders are going to come back. They're going to come back. They're going to come back.
They're not coming back yet.
No. Like, obviously, they still are within 1 on the scoreboard. But if you look at anything else, it's pretty clear that they're just not – they're not seeing this as big of a game as the Penguins are. And I think, to be fair, the Penguins know that, you know, if they go down, then they're going away, which gives them the slight disadvantage. But you would think that the Islanders would do slightly more.
I mean, you'd think. I mean, everybody's got an off game, but this is really just not the time to be off.
This is like more than an off game. How do you not get a shot on goal for? I wish they would put up a like one of those counters. Like,
oh, what an opportunity for the Islanders and a goal!
I'm sorry, what?
Game is tied. Tristan Jarry gave up that goal. He flopped too early and let the rebound go. Jarry is always the reason that the Pittsburgh Penguins give up goals.
I'm sorry. I've never said anything bad about the Islanders in my life. What? Is that their first shot on goal in ever? Okay, I just saw that. Yeah, that's. I'm gonna need to see a replay, but that definitely does not look great for Jarry. I don't know if it's just. Is he just a goalie that has some kind of, you know, you can get in his head a little bit, or is this legitimately just a thing that the Islanders have figured out?
No, it's Tristan Jarry. Like,
Yeah, I will say so. Whoever scored that goal did kind of. I don't know if that was a stick move or if they fumbled. So the puck was pretty wobbly on their stick. So I think Jarry wasn't really accounting for that. So that one doesn't make it totally his. But
I did say at the beginning of the stream that the Islanders' key to winning this game was getting into Jarry's head and confusing him. Simple shots were not going to work. He has a good, skilled base of goaltending.
Yes.
But he's very easily confused. Very easily confused.
Yes. And I think, honestly, that wasn't necessarily a move from the Islanders. That just happened to be a bit of a wobbly pass there. So they capitalized on it.
His glove side does suck. His glove side
should be the side that's good.
His glove side is really not good.
All right. Well, this is officially more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Maybe this is the spark the Islanders really are going to run away with this one, or if the Penguins can keep it up here. But
well, this is exactly what I've been saying about the Florida Panthers, that one team can be playing really great and the score is not going to show it. Thank you, Marco. I didn't change the thing. Like, the Penguins have been severely outplaying the Islanders the entire game. The score's not showing that. Yeah, there went anyone that guessed that the Islanders would stay at 1 goal. But for everyone that said 4-2, you're still in play. Although Ilya Sorokin,
I don't know which way it's going to go 4-2.
I mean, I guess that's playoff hockey, right? Like, a team can play incredible, and if you don't pull out the win, that's that. Sucks to be you.
Yeah, and I will say the Islanders really are proving that if you figured out a goalie, like, obviously I would say they need more shots on goal, but if they've figured out Jarry as much as it seems like they have, they really just need a good chance every now and again.
But this is the same thing we were talking about yesterday with the Nashville Predators and the Carolina Hurricanes, because the Carolina Hurricanes were severely outshooting the Nashville Predators all day, and that didn't matter because the Predators, the few shots they were taking, were putting them in the back of the net. And if you're taking, I don't care how many shots you're taking, if they're going in.
Yeah, I guess, because my thought on that is, like, usually my take would be you need to have more shots. Like, obviously that doesn't, you can have more shots and lose a game. It happens. It definitely does.
Me.
But hockey is it's like the most luck-based sport that honestly you need to get the puck on the net because there are so many different variables. It can just go in. You know, it doesn't have to be a great shot. But these past couple of games we've covered are really proving that maybe quality over quantity.
Yeah, I mean, and the Penguins are putting up incredible opportunities. They have been doing but they have the same like play every single time, the left-right pass with the player on the left side of Sorokin on his pad side. And so he's starting to figure that out as well. But the Penguins have had 19 scoring chances to the Islanders 6 in this period.
I'm checking to see, okay, it looks like the puck has dropped in Montreal. Toronto is finishing up their power play. They have on my screen about 30 seconds left in that, but it is still 2-1 as they're just beginning there. And
I'm so baffled that they only have 15 shots in this game.
Yeah.
I'm just keep going. Sorry.
Oh, and then the other update is it looks like the puck has dropped in the second. I'm just gonna say in Florida. I don't know where they are right now. Okay, they're at the Panthers.
They're in BB&T.
Okay, it's a safe bet that it's in Florida. But that game is still 1-0. They're not showing shots on goal, which is a really that bugs me about broadcasts when they don't show that, because usually it's a great indicator of the momentum in the game, but apparently not. So.
Guys, how do we feel about hitting 550 subscribers tonight? We're at 539. Feel like we can do it?
I feel like definitely possible.
If you guys are new with us, we are watching a 2-2 tied game between the New York Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Even though the Penguins are nearing 50 shots on goal and the Islanders have only hit 15 on Tristan Jarry, 2 of those have gone in. We have got just under 10 minutes remaining in this third period. We will see if we are going to go to that scary, overtime. Once again, it seems like we are a bad luck in terms of every game we stream goes to overtime. We'll see. But thank you guys for joining us once again. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to us if you're new. We are really excited to be doing daily NHL playoff coverage, and we are excited to see who takes the series lead between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders. We did not expect the Islanders with this shoddy play to tie up this game.
No, and I honestly think their goalie is holding them in this game so much. Facing all those shots, barely letting anything in. And they're just not, like, they don't look like a team that's deserving of this goalie right now.
No, he is playing really well. But it's the same thing you can say about the first half of every single game for the Vegas Golden Knights. They play like absolute shit. Marc-Andre Fleury dances around like a freaking acrobat, and then they decide midway through the second period they're going to start scoring goals. Every single game so far.
Like, I would find myself watching Vegas and Minnesota games, and I would be like, oh, like Talbot's just not up to it. But it's not that Talbot's playing bad. He's playing good. It's just that Fleury is on another level that he hasn't really shown recently, and he's getting a bunch of praise for it because honestly, like, the Wild can't get stuff past him, and when they do, it gets called back for goaltender interference. That made me mad. He wasn't that. It was clearly not goaltender interference, but I like how his agent posted a picture that was proof that it was goaltender interference, and it was a shot of Foligno turned around after the puck was in the net to see that it was in the net. Like it wasn't relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what, like, the goaltending situation in these playoffs are really making a difference here. And we've got an Islanders player is down. I think it's called Palmieri. No, it's not. We have got athletic trainers on the ice, though, for an unnamed Islanders player. I have not been able to see who it is because the referees are standing in my way.
Hopefully, because I'm a bit behind here, I can see a bit more insight into how this happens. Do you know where on the... Oh, okay, I see that. He kind of... If it's the player, I think it is. Nope, they got back up. Nope, they didn't. Oh boy.
No, that's definitely a bad injury for ex-Islanders player we have not been able to identify yet.
So this is number 26. I can look at who.
Wallstrom.
Yeah, I believe that. Yes, Oliver Wallstrom. That is correct. And it looks like he just kind of got thrown to the ice, unless that instance isn't what ended in this injury. I'm a bit confused because there was a big hit in the background. They panned away, and I think those players got up. So this was something else. But
we shall see. Rough Cut Sports, is Spencer Knight doing well? Give us an update. Thanks for joining us. Rough Cut is another one of the podcasts on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, which is the network that hosts Slapshot Sweetheart. So if you have not yet, make sure that you check out the rest of the incredible shows on the Belly Up Podcast Network. I am also sending the link to our Twitter in the chat.
They're showing replays of this hit. So it's been by 5 on the Penguins on him, and it just seems like his kind of side goes into the boards really awkwardly. So he's headed down the tunnel, and these playoffs have been riddled with injuries. And it's just hard to see because at this point, we don't know how serious that is necessarily. He was able to get off the ice with help. But yeah, like Kelly said, you just hate to see it. No matter the player, no matter the team, it's hard to watch.
Yeah, especially in the playoffs when you know that emotions are really running so high for all of these guys. We've got 7 minutes remaining in the third period between the New York Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Once again, the Penguins are really holding the offensive momentum with all of these shots, but the Islanders have been able to scrape 2 by Tristan Jarry with the 19 shots they've had in this entire game. Let us know who you think is going to light the lamp next, whether it be in the 7 minutes remaining of regulation or in overtime to take the series lead 3-2 going into Game 6 back in New York. If you have not yet, make sure that you like the video. And if you're new with us, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We have daily NHL playoff coverage. I am typically joined by a third wonderful lady named Megan, who is not here tonight. She will be back with us later in the week. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button and don't miss out on our daily playoff content.
An update in our Spencer Knight watch, because I know I've accidentally got us all invested in his career. It looks like he's faced, it looks like 26 shots partway through the second here. And besides so he's let in 1 goal, and that was pretty early, but besides that, it seems like he's really holding his own in the net. I don't know how close these shots were to going in as we are covering a different game. But it really seems like the Panthers just aren't doing their part on the offensive end to really pull this win out. I mean, they don't have a goal. They have 17 shots, so they're behind in that category. But it looks like for his part, Spencer Knight is really holding up his end of the deal there.
Guys, 10 away from 550 subscribers. Wouldn't that be a nice surprise for Megan to come back drunk from the Mets game if we had hit 550? Also, no, Statman John, we can't have a comfortable game because it's the NHL playoffs. No game is comfortable.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a 4-1 lead? Those don't go well. We are
going to have a tripping call on the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the New York Islanders are going to go on the power play with 6 minutes remaining. Nelson goes down. That didn't look very comfortable, quite frankly. So we will see if the New York Islanders are able to capitalize on what is going to be a pivotal power play for the end of regulation here. Little Boomer, Spencer Knight has played very well. Awesome. That's really great to hear. Again, same with injuries. We don't wish ill will on anybody making their initial playoff starts.
No, I really do love to see players, their first NHL games, their first goals. Those always, maybe it's just me as a sports photographer, but those always make for the best photos and the best. You always see it on social media after. I remember, like, specifically, it sticks out Travis Dermott's goal as a Leafs fan. If you've ever seen a photo of that, it just stuck in my memory. His face, he looked so happy. So I definitely do not wish ill on Spencer Knight. I am just concerned for his development over anything else. I want him to have success. So seeing him play well is good in my book. I know because he played for BC, I'm supposed to hate him. But
no.
it's tough.
No. I'm also sending, if you guys use Facebook, I'm sending the link to our page there. Jenna has been doing a stellar job making sure that all of our content is going up. So if you use Facebook, make sure to give our page a like. We are super excited to see who's going to play out in the end of this game. I want to make sure that I have all the scores right here in our little ticker. Toronto, Montreal, 2-1 Toronto.
Yep, it's stayed that way for quite a while now.
Period 3.
Looks like Toronto definitely has the lead and the momentum in the game.
And then we're just about 20 minutes away from Edmonton and Winnipeg kicking off with a little typo, with their crucial Game 4 matchup as Edmonton tries to save their playoff season and avoid a surprise sweep that no one was expecting.
Yeah, I will say with having to stay up for the Wild game, I'll probably see some of their game and finally kind of get a glimpse into that series. So if it does end up not being a sweep, hopefully we can talk about how it's going. I've said this every game for that series that I think that Connor McDavid is going to start producing, but I really feel like this has to be the game where he pulls something out and people remember how good he is.
If he's going to be the leader and the captain of that team that they expect him to be, he needs to pull out in these times, these high stress, concerning situations where you are facing elimination once again. He needs to pull out and pull the morale out of that team in that locker room and bring them and at least push them to a 5th game. Also, the Islanders, a minute and 20 remaining in this power play, just had quite a few good opportunities, and the Penguins cleared into their own end and throw a shot on Sorokin. 1-1, Florida has tied up the game.
I just switched over to that feed to check in on the goal, and oh my goodness, the crowd is just ecstatic. It looks like Uyghur scored 52 on the Panthers. It was right off the face-off, a pass back, and just goes right, I believe, 5-hole on Vasilevsky, that or under his arm. It's hard to see from the angle, but that's a great start for the Panthers. You know, they've got that solid goaltending going from Knight. So if they can get that offensive, then I don't see what's stopping them from coming back here.
Speaking of momentum, the Islanders are literally incapable of keeping the puck in the Penguins' end during this power play. The Penguins have been able to clear it 3 times in the last 20 seconds. So I highly doubt, although there's 20 seconds remaining in the power play, that the Islanders are going to be able to take the lead here. We've got 4 minutes remaining in the 3rd period. The Islanders have been able to hit 20 shots in the game. Good for them. Oh, there was a high hit on an Islanders player, though. I don't know if there's going to be a delayed penalty on Pittsburgh. Doesn't look like it. May have just been an awkward fall. We're wrapping up this power play here. 40 shots by Pittsburgh, and the Islanders will dump it into the Penguins' end so that they can get some fresh legs on the ice as they wrap up this power play that they were not able to do anything with. Manshun, thanks for throwing in the comments who you're rooting for. Go Florida, go Islanders. Vinny, did I watch the highlight from the Jet versus Oilers game? I've seen videos here and there throughout the game, but it was or throughout the day today, since I wasn't able to watch it. It was past my bedtime.
I will say, I don't think in the game we're watching right now that Pittsburgh is going to get to 50 shots. I know we mentioned it earlier.
We'll go to overtime,
but it is just pretty comedic to see that the score is tied and the shots Pittsburgh has literally double.
And again, I don't know whether to attribute that to Ilya Sorokin's great goaltending, Tristan Jarry's poor goaltending, or both. The net for the Islanders, it's off its peg, so play is dead. It looks like Crosby got into a little bit of a scuffle over the net with an Islanders player that knocked it off its peg. I don't know. Ooh, a little fight. That's the first fight we have seen of this entire game, actually. It has been really light on – I know somebody said that the hits for this game were very low. But, yeah, that's the first little scuffle we have seen of this entire game. I think we might get a power play for that. I'm not entirely sure.
I will say, going back to the goaltending, I feel like the answer almost always is both.
I think it's both,
It's one goalie being good and one goalie being not quite good enough.
Oh, yeah, Crosby, that was a dirty hit. What the fuck?
Surprising.
Crosby, like, lineman style, hits this guy into the net.
I didn't quite see it. How did the net end up?
Palmieri is bleeding as well. So although that high hit wasn't a power play, Palmieri was bleeding. So he's pissed that it wasn't a call. You can see him yelling with, I don't know if it's a Penguins.
Oh my goodness. It looks like Crosby was tripping over his own leg, which led to that all going down. Obviously, there was the shoving before, but then him going over the net, it looks like he was tripping on either his leg or nothing.
Whatever little, we are getting a little bit more aggressive with 2 minutes and 50 remaining in the third period. That's not surprising since we're seeing that Palmieri did take some blood there and Crosby did push a low hit that ended play and no call on either of those. So
I love the emotion-filled yelling between the benches. I always find it funny when they're at the end of the benches just yelling at each other, especially when Pierre Maguire is in the middle and he's just listening to it all.
My favorite journalistic personality.
Yeah, I love that he has to turn his mic off for some of those, but that just really shows how heated it is getting, and it's so close with it all tied up in the score.
What do you guys think about, since these teams are playing at the rate they are right now, if one of these does make it, well, one of them has to make it to the next round against the Bruins, how does that fare for either of these teams going into that, how the Bruins just pretty confidently knocked out the Capitals? You know, are the Penguins just playing poorly against Sorokin? Do they have the momentum to play well against the Bruins? Can the Islanders turn it around to play against the Bruins? Are they playing a strategic game right now versus just a offensive quantity? I mean, there's so many different ways you can look at this.
I would say, I know you said earlier that you would, which team did you say you would rather face?
The Penguins. But
yeah. I'm from an outside perspective, I'm feeling like the Penguins would be a harder matchup for the Bruins, just because the Bruins are really a team where, like, if you look at what the top lines in the playoffs, they have 3 of the top lines. Like, their offensive power is so strong, and I feel like they could get really easy matchups against some of the Islanders lines, but the Penguins are a bit more, they have a bit more depth as well, where it would be, I think it'd be fun to watch Penguins Bruins, but it would be a harder matchup for the Bruins, in my opinion.
I think it's, Bobby said it in the comments, but it's a challenge either way. It's a historical challenge for the Bruins because they really do not play well against Barry Trotz and the Islanders. However, the Penguins are an entirely different challenge because they have such offensive momentum right now. And if the Bruins can't shut that down early in the series, they won't be able to come back from it.
Yeah, looks like the physicality is just really continuing in this third, just as it's, you know, it's closing in on 2 minutes on my screen, and it just seems like the hits and the having to stop the play is just really continuing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other games still 1-1 in Florida, but the Panthers have really increased their shots. They're still behind by 4 in that regard, but they're definitely coming back momentum-wise. And then in Montreal, it's still 2-1 with 9.5 minutes left. So seems like we're not missing out on too much over there.
Penguins don't really have any enforcers. That's an interesting take.
I feel like the Penguins, see, I'm really against the notion that you still need enforcers, but I honestly think that the stars on the Penguins are more physical than stars on other teams.
Yeah. Like, I guess Evgeny Malkin isn't considered an enforcer, but he's such a big body.
Yeah. Like, I would say a lot of people will debate whether or not, you know, people have very strong opinions on Crosby, but if you ignore him and just look at the rest of the lineup, they have big players that are going to defend themselves. You know, there's no player in their lineup that I really look at and say they need someone to defend that guy, to be out there and to make sure he's not getting shoved around.
Right. We've got 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining in this third period. I hate to say the O word, but we might be going to it if no team can score in the remaining minute.
Since they really, like, Pittsburgh has the last shot on goal, but they really haven't been getting shots on goal. They've just been getting more and more physical in this
this has been some really sloppy play. No, there's been one shot in the last 5 minutes of this game. No team was looking to close this in regulation. So, I mean, I'll be surprised if anyone scores. I think we're definitely going to overtime. I'm hoping, not because I don't love you all, but because I was really excited to go to bed at a reasonable hour. This is an early overtime. I'm interested to see what you guys think about who's taking this in overtime. Like I said, this has been an enigma of a game. The Islanders tying up this game. Well, if Jari doesn't stay in net, then the Islanders can win it. But the Islanders are tying up this game, even though they're being outshot 2-1 at this point. If Jari falls on his butt, then they're going to score.
I'm seeing some people in the comments, their predictions. It's looking like Underwater says Isles are going to take it. Same as Little Boomer. John says Pittsburgh is going to score. I'd love to see more of your opinions on what this incoming overtime is going to look like.
We are officially at the end of regulation, so we will be joined by overtime once again.
All right.
Who's excited, people? We're going overtime once again. Elsewhere around the league, we have got Toronto and Montreal 2-1 in the third period. That should be wrapping up soon.
That's
And
an interesting take by Beantown Breakdown that it would be a battle of two completely different schools of play between Bruins and Pens. Pens offense versus Bruins defense. We were just talking about how the Bruins have lost some people on defense, and that's honestly, I think it would be offense against offense in that game.
yeah, I mean, I never trust the Bruins defense, but they have been playing historic. I will say at the beginning of the season, I did not think that the Bruins were going to go particularly far because of their defense. However, their defense has held their own. So as long as they can remain consistent, Brandon Carlo and Charlie McAvoy have been incredible in stepping up and taking the reins where Zdeno Chara and Torrey Krug left. However, I wouldn't call them a defensive powerhouse by any means.
No, I think if you're going to talk about what that battle is going to be, honestly, I would think it would be Bruins offense against can Tristan Jarry figure it out?
Yes, for everyone that is just joining us, we are once again going to overtime. For whatever reason, every stream we do goes to overtime, and I think it's just because we're so excited to watch these games with you all. The Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders are tied 2-2, with the series tied 2-2. We will see who can wrap this up going into overtime and take the series lead before we go to Game 6 in New York on Wednesday. Let us know who you think is going to take control of this game in this series in overtime. It is really anyone's game right now. Pittsburgh is horrendously outshooting New York, but New York has been able to hold their own with quality shots and confusing Tristan Jarry in net. So let us know what you think. We are excited to see this matchup. We are excited to see the other few games around the league kick off. Winnipeg and Edmonton should be kicking off the next 15 or 20 minutes. Then we will have Minnesota and Vegas starting at 10:30 Eastern time, which we will not still be streaming for. So,
yes, I did see. Okay, where is it? Yeah, Statman John asked about the status of Kevin Miller. It really looks like there haven't been any super recent updates after his release from the hospital. Unless anyone knows about that. Let's see. Still 2-1 in Montreal with under 6 minutes left, and getting a little bit physical in the Battle of Florida with a chance by Tampa, but ultimately stopped by Spencer Knight. So he's gone up against 27 shots, let in 1. That's a great debut so far for him.
absolutely.
Maybe more shots than you would like to see on a rookie goalie, but if the Panthers are just really trying to stay in this game, and they're catching up with the momentum, I think, here.
Yeah, and I mean, that, again, I'll keep harping on it, but the momentum of some of these teams is not showing in the scores. And I think, again, Pittsburgh is a great example because they have held the momentum in most of this game, but the game is tied. Florida has held quite a bit of momentum and lost on 2 bad goaltending periods in 2 different games and is now down 3-1 in this series. I don't think that says anything about how they've played in the playoffs because their offense has played incredible. But we'll see if they're able to push this to a 6th game. I think that will be, a 6th game. I think that will be huge for this battle because these teams are more evenly matched than a lot of people are willing to admit. Since Tampa is the defending champion, they are a larger known franchise than Florida is. Florida has only gone to a Stanley Cup final once in their history. So a lot of people don't take them seriously.
Yes, I will say I do have a fun Florida hockey story. My first ever hockey team, we had their jumping cat logo. That was the logo on our jerseys. And I believe after I left that team, I stopped playing to join basketball as a kid. I believe the Panthers found out that they were just blatantly stealing their logo because there's a lot of youth teams you'll see anywhere that'll be like the little wings or the little yeah, but they have permission, or they'll be, I know there's some high school teams that there's one that has a very similar logo to the Oilers but put a spin on it. So some teams get away with it, but they were just blatantly using their exact logo, and I'm pretty sure they got shut down. So there's a little special place in my heart for the Panthers, and their jumping cat logo just always reminds me of being on a team and being the only girl and it being really frustrating.
That's cute. All right, guys. Thanks, Steel Flyers. Thanks for joining us. Celestial Nighthawks, thanks for joining us. Guys, if you are just hopping in, we are going to overtime once again between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders. The game is tied 2-2. The series is tied 2-2. This is a pivotal game for both of these teams who are looking to take the series lead before going back to Game 6 in New York. If you have not yet, please let us know who you think is taking control of this game, who is scoring this overtime winning goal, and taking the series lead before they head up to New York for Game 6. We are really excited to see how this ends up. There are 4 other NHL playoff games tonight that we are providing updates on. If you have not yet, make sure that you like the video, you subscribe to the channel. If you're new with us, we are trying to hit 550 subscribers before this game ends. The NHL has blessed us with overtime so that we can give you a few more minutes to hit the subscribe button. That's honestly the real reason, right? Make sure that if you've not yet, you hit subscribe and let us know who you think is winning this game. We're super excited. Yes, Panther, the Avalanche did sweep the Blues. We are excited about that. And 3 other teams are on elimination watch tonight. If you aren't aware, the Minnesota Wild, Florida Panthers, and Edmonton Oilers are all at risk of elimination tonight as 3 teams look to punch their tickets to round 2.
I think it was a little bit higher in the chat, but Timothy said that Barzal is going to win this on a breakaway. I'm so used to there being breakaways in overtime that decide them with 3-on-3, but now that it's the playoffs and it's 5-on-5, overtime breakaways just really haven't been as prominent, which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, but also this game has not had the momentum that is leading to breakaways.
Yeah. I don't know, but if there's a player that's going to do it, I say Barzal is a great pick for a breakaway.
Yeah, well, Kyle Palmieri wanted a breakaway in Game 1, so that's also good to know for the Islanders.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so they're giving us a live look in Toronto and Montreal. It's still 2-1, and it seems like the game's going to close out that way. There are still 3 minutes, but it seems like the Leafs are holding on to that lead. Of course, a lead is never safe if you are the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I'm sorry, is that PTSD I hear in your voice?
Listen, I wasn't even a fan of them the first time that happened.
The first time. 3 minutes remaining in the Toronto game. Thank you. Yep, we've got 1-1 between Florida and Tampa Bay. I believe that is sitting in intermission now, or is it still in period 2?
The Battle of Florida, that is still in period 2. 5 minutes left.
And then we've got, obviously, this game sitting at 2-2, waiting for overtime. 2-1 Toronto and Montreal, sitting in period 3 with 3 minutes remaining. The Edmonton-Winnipeg game should be starting within the next 10 or 15 minutes. Official puck drop is at 9:45 p.m. Eastern time. And then we've got Minnesota and Vegas starting at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, probably closer to 10:45. Jenna is a big Minnesota Wild fan, so that will be exciting to see as they are on elimination watch. Let us know who you think is winning those later games tonight. We've got one from the north and one from the west.
Yes, and obviously we will not be streaming the late game, but I will be up watching it. I can't not. So if anyone wants to join me, I'll be on Twitter giving all my biased opinions. So you can find me there.
Yes, if you have not yet, you can find all of us on Twitter. Here is our podcast Twitter, @SweetheartsPod. The link is going into the chat. Make sure that you hit the follow button there. We are very fun on social media. We have a Facebook and Instagram as well. If any of you use those and would like the link, let me know, and I will throw it in the comments. Vincent, we are watching the Lightning game on separate screens. We're watching, without a delay, the Pittsburgh Penguins and New York Islanders game. However, as you can see, I am wearing a Florida Panthers jersey. I'm sorry. I know you are a Tampa Bay Lightning fan. We will see if that is going to be pushed to a Game 6 in one more period. What else are you guys watching? I know that not everyone is a Pittsburgh Penguin and New York Islanders fan, and there are 4 other games happening tonight throughout the league with only 2 games happening tomorrow. So interesting setup between the league. We were actually just talking about how the Boston Bruins, if this Pittsburgh Penguins New York Islanders game does go to 7 games, they will have around 6 days off, and it will probably start around Sunday. That's a lot of days off for Boston. It's either an advantage or a risk, depending on how you're thinking about it, and which team will be better for Boston to face. So a lot of question marks there in the East. The other team that has been able to punch their ticket to round 2 is the Colorado Avalanche. They're looking to see who will come out of the Minnesota Wild Vegas Golden Knights series. Obviously, that series can wrap up tonight, and we will see if the Vegas Golden Knights are able to end that. If they are not, they will go to Game 6 in Minnesota, I believe, and we will see if Minnesota can push it to a Game 7.
It looks like Steel Flyers said they picked Florida to win the series. Sadly, that's not going to happen. Well, you may have picked them to win the series. I picked them to go to the final. And
I picked them to win the finals.
So I think it's going to happen. I think they're going to come back from this. I think
hope isn't lost, people.
The magic ingredient that they needed was known amazing college hockey player Spencer Knight. I've never doubted him once. And I think that was the magic ingredient. So
magic ingredient.
Yes, I don't know if I would call what I'm going to be doing live tweeting, but I'll be on Twitter. I'll be active for the Wild game.
I love the honesty.
I feel like I could not handle live tweeting a Wild game. I've live tweeted other games before, but not an elimination game. That's just too much.
Celestial Nighthawks, if you want me to subscribe to you, can you shoot your link in the comments? Because I think your handle is in reference to a video game, and the search is not helping me narrow down the scope of what your account may be. Steel Flyers, see, that's where I disagree. I think Dreger was the mistake. I don't think Bobrovsky was the mistake. Dreger was the one that lost them the 2 games.
It is so fun to see as I click back and forth the just energy in the arena for the Florida game. The fans are really into it, and they've got a ways to go. They've got a whole other period. So,
Lindsay, thank you so much. We did have an amazing stream between the Preds and Canes yesterday that went to double overtime. We're hoping we can wrap this up in single overtime tonight. But we are having a ton of fun doing daily NHL playoff coverage. If you guys have not yet, make sure that you throw us the subscribe so you don't miss out. We typically have our 3rd host, Megan, with us. She is at the Mets game tonight. I hope she's not getting rained on. It looks pretty horrible outside. But if you have not, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you like the video. And we do daily playoff coverage. We are taking requests for games that you guys want to see for the rest of the week as well. So if you guys have a preference on which game you would like to see, please let us know.
Also, I just looked it up, and there's a Twitter account that's called Mets Weather, and it's just weather predictions for Mets games, which is kind of amazing. And they're most do they not have a recent they haven't recently updated. Wow, if you're gonna create a weather account, you gotta be up to date, because I was looking to see if it's raining on her.
James, you better hit me with the score, buddy. Did they score?
It looks like they did. I just on the end of a replay of it, just going left side past Vasilevsky.
So Celestial Nighthawks, the standings in the Islanders Pens game, the score is 2-2 in this game. The series is tied 2-2, and we are hoping to see who can take the series lead and the game lead going into overtime right now. One thing to note, if you guys are just joining us, is that the Penguins outshot the Islanders by more than 2-1 this entire game. The Islanders have actually only shot around 20 shots this entire game and have been able to get 2 past Tristan Jarry. The Penguins are broaching near 50 shots in this game. So we will see if they can turn quantity into quality the way that the Islanders have this game. We were just debating as well if this was something to say about how Ilya Sorokin has been playing so well in his second official NHL start, or if Tristan Jarry is just really struggling in net and is getting confused. I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. We will see. We actually are about to get puck drop in overtime. So this is your last chance. Drop who you think is going to score this goal in the comments. Excited to see.
Yes, we're also getting close to 550 subscribers. So if you haven't already, you could be our 550th on our road to 1K.
It is a long road, folks.
I think it's going to be shorter than you expect.
And Tampa in Florida is in period 2 still?
Yes, they have 2 minutes left. It is 2-1 in favor of the Panthers. And a while ago, the Leafs game wrapped up a win 2-1 for the Leafs. So they have a 2-1 lead on that series. A call for Jason Zucker to win it. Ryan, I know you're just a Wild fan, so that's why you're saying that, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yep, so we're about a minute into overtime. Yeah, Celestial Nighthawks, it's been such a fluke of a series so far between it. And each of these games has been pretty high scoring on both sides. I know we had a 5-4 game the other day, which was exciting to watch from our end, particularly because I'm not a fan of either of these teams. And one of these teams I have to play as a Bruins fan next round. And we've been debating all night on which one I would rather see. If you guys are just joining us, thank you for hopping in. We are watching the overtime between the Pittsburgh Penguins and New York Islanders. We've got a 2-2 in both the series and 2-2 in this game. Make sure that you are liking the video and subscribing to our channel if you're new with us. Pittsburgh is out shooting the New York Islanders 41-20 right now. Neither team has been able to get a shot off in the first 2 minutes of this overtime period. Excited to see who can get a shot off first, quite frankly.
I love to see, as much as we don't want games to go to overtime sometimes, I love to see how many people jump in for overtime.
Yes.
And I feel like it just makes it all the more fun to watch with everyone.
That's a great update. Florida's about to go on a power play, up 2-1. Pens are making your hair turn gray faster than my kids. I will say all of these overtimes that we are streaming are making – we knew that the playoffs are going to be a grind, but I didn't know that I was going to see an overtime every night. So we might as well just add one more period into hockey. The Penguins are just sitting here flinging the puck at Ilya Sorokin, getting shot on shot. Now the Islanders are going to go down on the other end with no one available for a pass. Penguins break that right up. Islanders are just not putting effort in their passes, in their drives. Like, do you want to win this game? Goodbye, I have to sleep. I also have to sleep. Thank you guys that are hopping and joining us. We are watching the overtime of the Pittsburgh Penguins New York Islanders game. We are excited to see Ilya Sorokin ends the play there with a glove cover, trying to see who is going – thank you for subscribing as well. Trying to see who is going to wrap this game up and trying to hit 550 subscribers before the game does wrap up. So if you have not yet, make sure that you hit the subscription button. We've got 3 other teams on elimination watch tonight, although this game and series are both tied 2-2. And Game 6 is scheduled to take place Wednesday in New York, which will be an elimination game for whoever is able to win in overtime tonight. From New York, thanks for joining us, Lucas. We are in overtime, tied 2-2, 3 minutes into overtime. New York, I apologize, is being severely outshot by Pittsburgh. New York only has 21 shots in the entire game. Pittsburgh's got 43. One other key thing to note about this game is that it has not been physical at all. It was not physical until the last 5 minutes of the game when we got our first fight of the entire game itself, which is crazy. Not even just little tussles that the refs were able to break up. Nothing significant. So,
Sam and John, yes, you are right. If we had streamed Avalanche Blues games, there would have been less overtime, but it also would have been so late, especially for the hosts on the East Coast. But maybe next round, the Avs, depending on who they're playing, maybe that'll provide some better times to. I know.
We'll screen anything and everything once we get out of the divisions and teams from the West are playing.
I know Avs fanboy would be happy if we streamed some of those for him.
I can't probably count on one hand the amount of times I watched the Avalanche this season just because I'm never up.
Yeah, and honestly, you're missing out. They have just been so good, and I feel like once you watch them, you'll understand why everyone is calling for them as the clear, winner this year. If they don't win, that's a loss for them.
It is. And there are a couple teams like that. When we've been discussing quite a bit what the level of success for each team is, and I think a team like Colorado, if it's not a win, it's a loss for the season. There are some other teams, generally for the league, if you're not winning, technically that's a loss. But, like you were saying, Jenna, if Minnesota Wild were able to get out of the first round, that would be a successful season. What do you call your season as a success? For Colorado, success is only winning based on the caliber of their team.
Yeah.
So we've once again got 15 minutes remaining in this overtime. Not a lot of shots from either team. We've got 2 from Pittsburgh and 1 from New York. A great opportunity there from New York that they were not able to capitalize on the bounce on. They're just skating slow, man. Like, not looking excited to be here and playing playoff hockey. Interested to hear if you guys are watching this Pittsburgh-New York game with us, or if you are watching one of the plentiful other hockey games that are happening tonight. I know we have quite a few different options on what you can be watching, and a lot of them are on national TV. So if you're not watching this game with us, I'm not offended. Excited to know the Jets scored. I am excited to know the Jets scored.
Would you look at that?
Yeah, neither team looks excited to be playing, Callie. I'm like, how many overtimes are you going to take me to? Like, why are you not skating as if you want to win this game and take the lead in this series?
They look like they're in overtime either on the first game of a back-to-back and they're scared about having to play the next day, or they played the day before, but they didn't. So I'm not sure why there's no sense of urgency from these teams, because series-wise, there clearly is.
They both look gassed, which is only going to get worse if we have to go to another overtime and they're playing like they're freaking exhausted. And it's crazy because, like we've said, the only teams that have had to face back-to-back so far are those up north. The Jets and Oilers are, in fact, on a back-to-back. And then tomorrow, the Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens will go on a back-to-back. And there are only 2 games tomorrow, the Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens, and the Preds and Carolina Hurricanes. So we will see, and that will happen as we get later into the series, as some teams are eliminated and we have to wrap up round 1 so that we can start round 2. There will be less games each night. Mets lose to the Rockies. Well, that sucks for Megan. Hopefully her team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, can start playing in this playoff overtime.
This is like watching it in slow-mo. You're right. Maybe it's just these teams aren't. Maybe this would be more fun if there were younger teams playing this game.
Lamario, thanks for hopping in again. I do agree with you. I think the Canadians, if they do want to make an impact in this series, have to win Game 4. They cannot go down 3-1. The Leafs are a streaky team in the playoffs, but they're not a team you want to go down 3-1 from.
Yeah, and I will say on that one, I feel like the Habs Game 1, they obviously played better, but a lot of that can be contributed to what happened at the beginning. Obviously, with Tavares going off the ice, you're not going to play the same seeing your captain go off the ice like that. So the Habs need to step it up because the Leafs have clearly, recovered their play. But it just seems like the Canadians haven't been able to do the same.
Yeah. Do you know if the NHL schedule will stay the same next year or they'll go back to normal? I have to assume they will go close to back to normal.
Yes. I think the schedule this year was designed so they could go back to normal for next season.
That's another good point, Bobby, is that if these games are going to keep going to overtime, granted, the Bruins did play in overtime for 3 of their 5 games, but if this goes to 6 or 7 games, the Bruins are going to have up to 6 days off in between round 1 and round 2, as we've said. So if these keep going to overtime and these teams do look, or if they do feel as gassed as they look, then that's going to bode really well for the Bruins if the Bruins do get 6 days off and these teams are exhausted. And yes, I did throw in the comments that we are only 3 subscribers away from 550. So if you have not yet and you're just joining us for the overtime between the New York Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins, we've got a game tied 2-2 and a series tied 2-2 with 11 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in overtime. We have got 2 teams that look horrendous in overtime right now. They are playing as if they stayed out all night at the bars. But we are excited to see if one of them can get a goal past one of these goaltenders. Ilya Sorokin has played really fantastic tonight, blocking almost 50 shots from the Pittsburgh Penguins. However, Tristan Jarry has only blocked 21 of 23 shots today. So excited to see how this overtime goes and who takes this series lead going into Game 6 on Wednesday in New York. Shannon, who is the best player against the Capitals in your opinion? That's a good question. Tuukka Rask, probably.
That's fair.
But Patrice Bergeron played really well as well. Yeah, Bobby, they are changing these lines every 15 seconds. You'd think we were in triple overtime.
No, and at some point they have to realize that if they just keep playing like this, it's just going to keep going. Like, they look like they're playing so that they're going to have the full intermission to somehow figure things out. But
yeah, well, don't let the Penguins Islanders poor play let us get you down. Let us know how you're feeling about the other 4 games in the NHL tonight. There's plenty of other interesting hockey being played that's not this. It looks as though we might go on a power play, though.
And also, speaking of exciting things, it looks like we have just hit 550 tonight.
Woo! Let's get some 550 hype in the chat.
Get some lemons if anyone was here yesterday.
Thank you, guys. That's so exciting. If you have not subscribed yet, don't let us hitting that milestone stop you. Please hit the subscribe button. We do daily NHL playoff coverage, and we are super excited to keep bringing whatever game you guys want to see to the channel. And it looks like that was not a power play. It was a deflection outside of the ice. Thank you guys for the congrats. We cannot do this without all of you guys watching. Super, super grateful to have you all here. We have got just under 10 minutes remaining in this overtime. We have got 45 shots from Pittsburgh, 43 saved by Ilya Sorokin, 24 shots from the New York Islanders, 22 saved by Tristan Jarry, a tied game at 2-2, tied series at 2-2, looking to go for Game 6 in New York. Which team is going to take this 3-2 series lead? I have literally no idea because they're both playing slow and tired in this overtime.
Yes, and it looks like very exciting news coming out of the Jets-Oilers. We have a goal by Connor McDavid. He's been playing with a goal assisted by Draisaitl and Puljujarvi. So those calls for him to start being the leader that team needs, because he's the heart and soul of that team and the only thing keeping them going. Sounds like he might be able to do it, pull out another game at least for them, but it is 1-1 as of right now.
Yep, that is super exciting for Edmonton. That is barely breathing, holding on but barely breathing, trying to stay alive in that series. The Jets did strike first in that game, but we are now tied 1-1 in the first period. In the North Division, we are hoping that, I don't even know if I'm hoping for that Edmonton stays alive, but they are on sweep alert. So if the Jets can pull out this game, Edmonton will make a very, very early, unexpected playoff exit. I know I have them coming out of the North Division, so my bracket, if Florida and Edmonton both get eliminated tonight, my bracket is busted. Busted. Especially, I have Minnesota beating Vegas too, so like it'll be out the window.
Oh boy. It looks like, so Statman John says, I feel like Draisaitl would be a bigger star if he wasn't playing with McDavid. I feel like a better way to say that would be he would be a top line center, right? Because they're both centers, so he's always on the second line unless they put them together when they desperately need it. Honestly, I don't know how much they do that in Edmonton. It seems like sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I feel like both of those players would be better players if they weren't playing where they are. I think they need some guys around them who can handle their passes and feed them for goals. And honestly, I think they both would be getting more points on the season if they had some solid line mates and a better team around them.
You know, I think Connor McDavid is fine where he is. I think the team can build around one, but they can't build around. You can build around two if you do it well, but Edmonton's not going to do it. And I think it is a fair point to say that Leon Draisaitl is being a little bit robbed of what he could be. Granted, he did win MVP.
Yeah,
but I think
find those, those twin cousin, whatever you want to call it, contracts. It seems like Connor McDavid is staying there, and part of the deal is he gets Draisaitl. That's the incentive. So, I mean, I guess you could say they could trade Draisaitl and try and get a better overall lineup, but what is left for McDavid? There's just no one on his level if you take away Draisaitl.
Yeah, and especially if you look at how the salary cap is not going up for the foreseeable future, them trying to build around guys that have large contracts like that is not going to look great.
No.
Frogman, go Penguins, go Islanders, go whoever ends this overtime. End the game. Take the series lead, man. Play like you want to win this game.
Literally, I feel like there could be one player on a team that just decides. I feel like there's, I'll see games and Austin Matthews just decides to end the overtime. He says, we're done. This ends now.
Please score.
There just needs to be one player that goes out there and says, no, this is the last shift. We're scoring. I don't know. I feel like there needs to be some rallying on the bench there.
And actually, yes, I do want to go to sleep, but I have to use the restroom very badly. So, someone must score.
I mean, I want to get to the Wild game on time. I have a late dinner waiting for me. So, if they could wrap this up.
I love you all dearly. I really, really do. However, these two teams, man. We've got 7 minutes and 47 seconds remaining in the first overtime. We're still tied at 2-2. Pittsburgh has 46 shots. I said they were probably going to hit 50. I didn't know it was going to be an overtime. New York has 26 shots, and Tristan Jarry has saved 24 of them. So let us know how you're feeling about the motivation in this overtime right now. I am not feeling too excited about it, too motivated as one could say.
No. And honestly, I feel like I'm going to have to blame this one on Meg. She really pushed us in this game. We could have been watching the Battle of Florida, Spencer Knight's first game, but no.
We could, yeah. No, honestly, hates on Meg here. So she insisted first thing this morning. She knew I was in meetings. She was like, I'm going to post right now that you're doing the Penguins game. And I was like, hold your horses. Pause right there. But thank you all again that are hopping in and joining us. We have got 7 minutes remaining in overtime. We're still tied 2-2. We are hoping that one of these teams can pull it out, take the series lead. Series is tied 2-2. Game 6 is scheduled in New York on Wednesday, and that will be an elimination game for whoever pulls out the win here.
If they do. They might just play this until that game's supposed to start and then just transport all the players to the new rink and say, keep going.
Wow. Someone said Brandon Tanev was going to score this goal. I see him on my screen right now. He is not scoring.
Statman John says, bring back the glowing puck. Honestly, in most cases, I am very opposed to them having a tracker on the puck. I feel like it looks really bad. But I am watching this on my phone, and it's kind of like at a distance. So maybe I'm in favor of that right now.
If you guys have not yet, make sure that you check us out on social media. I'm throwing the link to our Instagram in the channel. We are also on Facebook and Twitter. I know Meg and Jenna are scheming over a TikTok. So looks like the Islanders, Penguins, and referees are all discussing something, and the coaching staff with the Pittsburgh Penguins are displeased.
They're not having it.
Thinking it was either a missed call or it's not looking like anyone's going to the box, so probably a missed call. Thank you guys that are all hopping in. We are about to take face-off in the Pittsburgh zone. If you guys are just checking out the game now, Tristan Jarry is in net. He has saved 24 on 26 shots. Pup dude, I wish I could. However, there are copyright laws that prohibit me from putting the game live on the screen, so we are happy to answer any and all questions about any of the 5 games going on in the NHL tonight, although we are watching the Pittsburgh Penguins New York Islanders live, which is tied 2-2.
Oh, they need to wrap this up.
Who's the hottest player? Well, that's a question I can answer. In this game or in the league or in the history? In this game,
In what regard?
What?
Hottest in what regard?
In this game, probably JP Pedro. In the league, I love Aaron Ekblad. I really do. But Tyler Sagan's also beautiful. But we can't ignore Patrick Sharp. I just can't get Patrick Sharp.
It's not even an honorary mention.
I understand he's retired. I really do. I also understand he has some questionable things in his past. However,
listen, it's all rumors.
Rumors. Someone confirm.
I don't think anyone can confirm by the people who, besides the people who are.
People, you really underestimate how long I can stay awake.
Listen, I've got a whole other game to get to. If I drank caffeine regularly,
I'm gonna go walk my dog, put on some SVU. I'll be up for another hour or so. Maple Leafs or Canadiens? I chose the Canadiens out of that series. However, they did just go down 2-1 in the series after the Maple Leafs won games 2 and 3.
And I'm a Leafs fan, so gonna have to stick to that on there.
I should get a Patrick Sharp Hawks jersey. Alex, you already convinced me to get the Chicago Blackhawks jersey, and I haven't gotten to wear it yet because it got here after they got eliminated from the play.
Wait, see, do you have a blank one?
Yeah.
So just get it lettered with Sharp stuff.
Yeah, but it's from the Classic when he was already retired.
So that's a great conversation starter. If someone calls you out on that, if they know enough to call you out on that, That's a star.
Frogman, I am not into people with long hair at all. No.
I think it's great. I know you and Meg. You Meg don't like who is it on the Penguins that you hate his hair?
On the Penguins, Brandon Tanev.
Oh no,
Crystal Tang. I hate both their hair.
I
love scored. He was so due for a goal. Wow. Oh, but that's not in this game.
You confuse me so much.
No, Alexander Barkov scored for Florida. I'm so much more excited about that. We could be watching that game right now.
Meg!
She's
Back
going to
to players with long hair, because I'd like to focus on that, because I'm mad that wasn't this OT ending. I would like to say that I'd love to see the draft to first year in the NHL pipeline of players not having their mom make them get haircuts so they grow their hair out. Nolan Patrick is a great example of that. You see him at the draft and he's a totally different guy, and now he's just living his life.
The black and green neon jersey is perfect.
I have started my very humble beginnings of collecting jerseys. Last summer while in quarantine, I was bored and online. So I got one of the Stars ones that's like a big star that like goes across the arms and everything. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like a nice dark green. I really like that one.
Yeah, I want either the neon jersey or I like the reverse retro as well.
Yeah. I feel like they have some good jerseys.
All right, guys, thank you for hopping in and joining us. We are chatting about jerseys simply because there is 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in this overtime, and they are doing a fat nothing with it. So hopefully we can get – Frogman, you're right. The Penguins have gotten a couple shots off here. Hopefully one of these teams can capitalize in the remaining 2 minutes of overtime before we go to a double overtime. I am going to freak out if we go to a double overtime. Let me tell you. I'm going to lose Jenna. She has to go watch the Wild game.
Listen, but yes, Statman John, I would love to get a North Stars jersey. I was not around in the world when they existed, but yes, I love that part of Minnesota's hockey history. I find it really fun. The people in Minnesota still really love the North Stars. I know that Stars fans are really protective over the Stars identity, but you still are our team, so. Meg is a fake fan, yes.
Once again, friendly reminder, we cannot show the game because of legal copyright issues, so please stop asking. We've got 1 minute and 46 remaining. Can Pittsburgh hit 50 shots before the end of this first overtime? We're at 47.
Maybe.
Vincent, I would literally love to watch the Lightning Panthers game. Shay, the game is at 2-2 with 1 minute and 40 remaining in overtime. Series is also tied 2-2 with this first overtime wrapping up. We're hoping that one of these teams can get a shot. We're not playing baseball here. Why are we flinging the puck in the air? Anyway, hoping that one of these can take a series lead before we go into Game 6 in New York, which will be an elimination game for whoever is able to take control. Pittsburgh has been severely outshooting New York, holding at least 20 shots over them for third period and overtime. Now it's 47-27. Been right around there for most of overtime now.
Yes, and quick look around the league. As said in chat, the Jets just scored to pull out the lead 2-1 against the Oilers. So that's a goal from Mason Appleton. And then the Panthers are still up 3-1, about 5 minutes into the third there. And honestly, I think they're going to take the game. I really think
I'm going to flip out because everyone said that we shouldn't watch that because they were going to get eliminated. Go freaking Panthers!
Yes. Also, Kevin in the chat, I don't know what you're talking about. What lost tonight? I'm not familiar. If you could elaborate on that, that'd be great. But yeah, the Leafs won. That's great. This is really going to double overtime again. Guys, if this conflicts with the Wild game,
Oh, they were so close to getting a goal behind Jari. I will root for any team that's able to score in the next 28 seconds. Any team.
Honestly, a fan could jump on the ice and kick it in, and I'd call it a day.
Oh, what on earth? 8, 7, 6.
No, don't do
And
this
we're going to
me.
double overtime. I must use the restroom. So
Don't do this to me.
I have to be.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, it is me alone again. If you have any questions specifically for intern Jenna, i.e. me, feel free to drop them in the chat. We are going to the break here. I'm going to quick look in, still 3-1 in Florida. That's awesome, Kevin. I feel like people surrounding the Wild, it's a nice community. It's really easy to meet the players out there. I would go to the Beauty League games in the summer, and it was so easy to meet players from all over the NHL, AHL. It's a really great hockey community in Minnesota. So yeah, if anyone's looking for a team to support, pick the Wild. Do it. Let's see here. It's looking, yep, still the other games' scores have remained consistent. Yes, these streams are cursed. I agree. I don't know how to tell Shan that I want to go watch the Wild game. Do I think that the Lightning can come back and win with 14 minutes left? I think the Lightning are a strong team, as much as I sort of hate to admit it, because I am rooting for the Panthers. I feel like they haven't quite figured out Knight in his debut. I mean, anything is possible with Tampa. They have some scorers on that team, but I personally believe the Panthers are going to pull this one out. Sorry, Vincent. Yes, Minnesota is the state of hockey. Got my shirt on from our sponsor, Pure Hockey. If you haven't checked out them stuff, they have some great apparel there. I'm really taking over the podcast here. Shannon, Meg, who are they? I don't know them.
I heard that.
Sandwich on, that's bold. Yeah, so the Panthers have clawed their way past the Lightning in this game. We'll see if it's past them in this series. Anything's possible. I think they've kind of found their stride, so if they can keep this momentum, maybe. John thinks the Knights take it tonight. Huh, that's a tough one. I don't really know who they're playing, but good luck to them, I guess. Listen, I'm going to have nothing reasonable to say about the Wild for the next forever, so can't wait to go back to Gophers games next year. Alex, I love going to Gophers games when I lived in Minnesota. They're always fun. There has definitely been a dip in the crowd recently, but they had an amazing season. I covered it on my podcast, Coast to Coast College Hockey Podcast. And honestly, I was so sad they did not go farther in the NCAA playoffs. Hopefully they do next year, especially with the ability to maybe keep some of those players. Kevin, no to the petition for me to take over for Meg. I've worked here for a week. But yes, here's to hoping for a quick goal this period. I'm not optimistic though. Oh my goodness. The slow inching of Buddha into the screen. If the Leafs do beat the Habs, do you think the Jets have a chance to win the series? I honestly thought the Oilers and the Jets were an even matchup because I honestly think both of those teams have pretty big faults this season. And if the divisions were divided up differently, maybe wouldn't have made the playoffs. So I honestly feel like maybe if the Jets get enough momentum out of this series, but the Leafs just seem like the stronger team to me. And I say that as little bias as I can.
All right, folks. I see we're going to double overtime. Still.
I don't know about this.
Jenna's like, my game is starting in the next 20 minutes.
Listen, I skipped the Leafs game for you guys.
I'm not going to get her to do another game with me all week.
It's fine. Everything's
I took Buddha out of his snuzzing spot to come say hello. Thank you. He is so cute. And he literally just went back into his crate and curled back into a ball. Same. He knows what time it is. Snuzzing time.
oh my goodness.
All right, guys. So we've got, let's hit the score updates here. Winnipeg's up 2-1. First period over?
Yes, the first period is over there. I believe I have not heard of Mason Appleton before. But it looks like he played quite a few games for the Jets.
Well, if you guys are just joining us and you have not hit the subscribe button yet, we might as well take advantage of this stellar opportunity to keep adding new subscribers and likes to our video. If you've not yet, make sure that you like the video, you subscribe. What's the 2 OT curse? I don't know, but it's going to keep screwing with my sleep cycle. in my graduate school degree.
Yeah, I am so glad I do not have classes right now. For the question in the chat, Meg was at a Mets game, so she is not joining us today, but she will be back in the future. Never fear. Always happy to translate. If they could just delay the Wild game, as much as I hate to say that, that would be great.
Type.
Griffin predicting a hat trick from Kirill the Thrill. After this, I'm going to put on my Kirill the Thrill lucky shirt. So here's to hoping. Vegas has really figured out they always have two guys on him, and they've really figured out how to stop him from really anything. He's been pretty quiet, not of his own accord. So I would love to see a hat trick from him. I'd love to see a goal, an assist, a not bloody face, an uninjured Kirill the Thrill.
Thank you all that liked the video already. We love the support. Thank you for saying bless you. So kind.
So nice.
For everyone that's joining that's new with us, thank you for hopping in. See some old faces that have really rallied through this entire stream.
They're sticking with us through this overtime. They knew what they were coming for.
Yeah, and those that are just hopping in, we are going into double overtime for the Penguins New York Islanders game. Series is tied 2-2. The game is tied 2-2. It's been tied 2-2 for a long time now. We are excited to see who can end this game, and hopefully they can end the game before the puck drops for the Minnesota Wild so Jenna can get to her team's game. We did not realize that this was going to go to double overtime like the Preds Canes did yesterday.
We should have realized.
People, Overtime on overtime on overtime. Here we were thinking, oh, a 7 o'clock stream? We could get to bed early? No.
This does, however, give me an opportunity to look in on the Panthers Lightning game, which is always fun.
John Larson, what about Crosby? He's ending this game? I'd love that.
You could put any name in the chat. And I'd say
any name. I don't care if they play for the Penguins and Islanders. There is not live video coverage. We, once again, cannot show the video itself. There is copyright issues with the NHL, but once the game does return, we will bring the play-by-play back and answer any questions about what's going on the ice for you if you are not able to watch the game yourself on your television. Am I paying to watch these games? Well, most of them are on live cable. However, we do have NHL TV. Penguins versus Bruins. Do you think every game? I'm going to be gassed if the Penguins and Bruins have to go against each other because Megan and I are not going to be nice to each other.
I feel like I'll pop in for an intermission and be like, hey guys, how's it going? Do we hate each other? Does anyone have anything they need to get off their chest?
Did you get that second memo on double OT? No, I didn't yet. And you know what's even more messed up about this? And then I'll stop. If I want to be in double OT, and it didn't happen yesterday either, if I have to watch double overtime, where is Patrick Sharp? Why do I have to watch 5?
I feel like he should be on call.
5 intermissions and no Patrick Sharp.
I will say the stream I'm watching, it doesn't show anything besides the actual gameplay.
So when I use NHL TV and I watch Bruins games with NESN coverage, I just get this thing that says intermission in progress. It doesn't even show me intermission coverage, so I just in silence.
The lovely
Luigi.
Yes, they have 4 shots, black and white, slow motion of them clearing the ice, and honestly, they're very calming. But I feel like they could have more shots. They really could have had it in the budget to spice it up a little bit.
I mean, I'm just interested to see what the television – I'm not going to dive into it, but I want to know what the television law is between NHL TV and NESN. One of our first interviews, we do live streams for everyone watching as well as recorded interviews with personalities throughout professional hockey. And one of our first interviews was with Dale Arnold, who hosts the Boston Bruins on NESN. And so I was so excited to see one of the first Bruins game of the season because I was like, oh, excited to see Dale's intermission report, blah, blah, blah. And then I watched the squeegee for 20 minutes. So
yeah, it's very interesting the NHL, how they have all the, any sport really, they have all the local broadcasts and they work in the national ones and, the NHL Center Ice and NHL TV. It's all very complicated, and sometimes, especially as a college student, it is hard to get the game, and you have to get a little creative sometimes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it is difficult. I mean, even as someone who doesn't live in the market of the team that they follow, it's very difficult to get. And I know Megan definitely struggles with this living in New Jersey because 4 of the 8, with the way the divisions were stacked up this season, 4 of the 8 East teams were blacked out due to her geographic location. So she couldn't watch 80% of the East games.
Which is so, the fact that they black it out because you are there is just.
Well, and they also black out all the national broadcasts. So I haven't been able to use NHL TV at all in the playoffs. I have to go to NBC Sports website and then stream it, which is even farther of a delay.
Yeah, my dad, because we're in Texas now, got center ice so that he could see the Wild games. But I mean, now that's the playoffs. It's basically useless.
Yeah, absolutely.
It looks like about 7.5 minutes left in the third. Panthers are still up 3-1 against the Lightning, and they've almost caught up to them in shots, which they were quite far behind. earlier in the game. So they've really taken this over. They've said they're not going out like this. And honestly, next game, put Spencer Knight back in.
I won't be lied to next time when someone tells me that no one wants to see the Florida game.
But they did. Everyone in the comments was saying they wanted to watch this game.
All right, so on Wednesday, do you all want to watch the Penguins Islanders game or the Florida Tampa game?
You're using like your childhood, like, be honest.
Because they'll both be sitting at 3-2 in their series.
Yes, that is very true. Also, I mean, the banner change, the OT, double OT, it's all the same.
All right, here we go. Let me just make sure this top one is up to date as well. I've got Florida 3-1 in the third period.
We have Underwater saying Penn's Isles. Statman John saying depends on how this game turns out. So who winning would make you want to watch either? And then John says the Tampa.
Well, speaking of how this game is going, we finally have puck drop in double overtime. Let us know who you think is going to take this game and which period of overtime you think they're going to do it.
Honestly, I feel like the story in the Battle of Florida is just so interesting to me, especially if they're turning this around. We ain't going out like that. That's exactly it. Ooh, that's a great question as we start off this double overtime from Callie. What arenas have we been to? So I've obviously been to XL Energy Center. That's the arena that I grew up going to, seeing Wild games. I've been in the Calgary Flames arena, not for a game, but for a marching band event. Anyway, and I have been to a game in Detroit. I really like their new arena. It's very interesting to walk around with. I went with my team, so that was fun. I've been in TD Garden to go to the Bean Pot. Covering that was extremely fun, if you know what that is. But I have not gone to a Bruins.
Oh, that's an Islanders goal!
Really? Oh, thank God!
Oh, we're done, folks! And even though double overtime has begun and ended, make sure that you like the video and you subscribe now. That is an Islanders 3-2 lead at the very beginning of double overtime.
Oh my goodness.
I haven't even seen the damn goal yet.
No, let's.
The Penguins whipped off the bench. They did not dilly-dally at all.
Wow. What a just quick. We could have had that last overtime. Yes. Does anyone know who scored that? I'm trying to look. The NHL website has not quite updated.
It's here. It's a breakaway. Oh, who said a breakaway? Oh, bad play by Jari.
As per usual.
Bad play by Jari. It's Bailey.
Bailey. All right. I think it'd be great if we did a Twitter poll for Wednesday's game to see what people really think going into that.
Wow.
A game.
Well, guys, I feel as though it's fitting that we went all the way to double overtime and Jari chokes for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, where was he? Oh, wow. At least Jari's going to get the assist on that. You always love to see goalies getting points.
Unbelievable stat, man. John, you are completely right. Josh Bailey took complete advantage of Tristan Jari's blunder at the very beginning of double overtime. Thank you all again for joining us. Before we wrap up and let Jenna run off to the Minnesota Wild game and her very late dinner, Make sure that you like the video, even though we are wrapping up. You subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. We will most likely be covering the Preds, Canes tomorrow, and then the rest of the week is up to you all. Make sure that you let us know which games you want to see, and make sure that you follow us on social media and shoot us a DM if you have a preference. Why couldn't they lose in regulation? Yeah, you're freaking telling me. I just lost an episode of SVU.
The important things in life.
All right, guys. Thank you again. Make sure that you follow us on social media, and we are excited to see you tomorrow. Have a great night.